What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Crazy Ant Farm. Oh man, holy moly, it feels good to be back. I just want to say, hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving. This comes out on Friday, so happy Thanksgiving. Hope everybody had nice.
Comes out on Friday. That means tomorrow's my birthday.
Yeah.
Yay.
We also want to say happy early birthday to Soundman because his is on Saturday.
Thank
because
you.
Early now, but late when this comes out.
Yeah,
No,
his
the
is
day
on
before.
Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
It's still early, even on the podcast.
Happy
Yeah.
early birthday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Double early.
It's a double early.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. But we got a great show for
Early
you guys
squared, if you
today.
will.
Early
Well, hopefully I
squared.
can survive my birthday.
The hell? Oh,
Oh,
be careful.
yeah. It is a full-blown holiday weekend until Sunday.
It really
Yeah.
is.
So,
Especially
yeah.
for your birthday.
You don't want
Yeah.
Johnny Polis getting you.
Be
Oh,
careful
no,
now.
no.
But let's get started off with some industry news. Let's talk about Apple signing this multi-year deal with A24. Man, that's going to be crazy because A24 has produced and distributed a lot of big movies that's come out recently.
Including last year's Oscar winner.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
for Best Picture. So, yeah, it's a biggie.
Yeah, seriously.
It just goes to show that Apple now has made its move.
Yeah,
It's
that's a
like,
big
hey,
move.
no, wait.
Yeah, we're
Now that
still
all
here.
you guys have kind of figured this out, we're serious.
Exactly.
Here we come. And
Exactly.
and
like I keep saying, they're like the monster in the dark that you can only see their eyes type shit. They're just waiting to pounce.
yeah. And for anybody who doesn't know what I was talking, Moonlight.
Moonlight,
They were behind Moonlight.
You mean La La Land? I'm just kidding.
No. Ooh.
Oh, man.
Bad memory.
Damn.
Also, 8th Grade, Hereditary.
8th grade. I heard that
Mid
was good.
90s, Jonah Hill's new one
Yeah.
coming out. Lady Bird, A Ghost Story, Losers, like big ones.
Yeah.
Like
So
really
they've
big
done a few
ones.
things.
Yeah, they've
Just
done a few.
Just a few.
And Apple has signed a multi-year deal with them. So, and I mean, Apple's got $1 trillion,
Exactly.
literally $1 trillion. So
Yeah.
I feel like this is going to be a good partnership.
Agreed. I'm just waiting for them to come out and say when they're going to start their streaming service, and I'm ready for some actual content because I'm excited.
Yeah. I mean, listen, they've been cherry picking execs, and I don't think they're done cherry picking execs either, because we all know after the merger with Disney and we already saw it with Dungy going bye from
Yeah.
Disney.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of positions that are doubled up, and they're not going to need both.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be a lot of exits out of Disney.
Yeah.
You know, either a Disney person or a Fox person that's no longer needed
Right.
after that. And I mean, these other little Netflix and Apple and Amazon, they're going to be cherry picking
Hell
all
yeah.
these execs that now need homes.
Yeah.
So, and
Man, I can't wait.
but
Executives that need homes.
I mean, hey, look, I'm
Right.
just being serious. And these guys are going to want to go after and
Yeah.
prove that they shouldn't have been let go, I would
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
So, okay, but with that slate, right? I mean, with A24 and the slate of stuff that they've done and all that money, and they're going to be hammering out or whatever. And the reason why is because of Disney. Like, so I want to go down just a little bit here. Disney, if you guys haven't seen it, 12 movies over the next 12 months.
Yeah.
12 movies over the next 12 months. You're talking Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet, The Nutcracker, Mary Poppins Returns, Captain Marvel, Dumbo, the second part of Avengers Infinity War, Aladdin, Toy Story 4, Lion King, Frozen 2, and the next Star Wars.
So they basically got the whole year on lock.
They're talking about, and I tend to think the industry is right here. It could be conceivably the single most profitable and lucrative 12-month span of any studio ever.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we're talking about Captain Marvel, the next Avengers, the next Avengers movie, Star Wars, and probably, I mean, if you're looking at it, Frozen.
Yeah.
They're all going to crack $1 billion.
At least.
So you're looking at 3 or 4 movies, just 3 or 4 out of the 12 that are going over $1 billion. You're already at, $6 billion, $4 or $5 billion off of 4 films. You got 8 to go.
Right.
Like, I think they're going to break I mean, $500 billion over the next 12 months. That's where everybody's going, holy shit. Netflix is shit and Amazon is shit. They're all going, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. I mean, especially I'm really interested to see how the Lion King remake is going to be, the live action one.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's a great cast attached to it, like Beyonce, Childish Gambino.
It's Favreau, though.
like it is Favreau.
Like, can we just say? I mean, because I don't think enough people are talking about this. I really kind of feel like Jon Favreau is Disney's golden boy right now.
yeah.
Yeah, it has to
I
be.
mean, you know,
Seriously.
he
Marvel, Star Wars,
Yeah,
like-
he. Without Favreau, the MCU, taking nothing away from Kevin Feige
Right.
because he's the guy,
He
he's the
is.
mastermind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Favreau's the one who launched it.
Exactly.
If Favreau's Iron Man doesn't work, none of it exists.
Exactly.
So Favreau is the guy,
He
and
is.
then like he did the live action Jungle Book,
Yeah.
which was a huge hit.
Yeah.
Now he's coming back doing the Lion King. I mean, I just feel, and he's doing the new Star Wars series for their streaming
Yeah.
service, and I feel like he's just like, you know,
Yeah.
Now, what confuses me about the live action, the term for that now, it's different because what they mean is CGI, right?
it's
live
gonna
action
be,
having actors.
yeah, it's gonna have actors with CGI characters,
Right,
yes.
but they're
So-
not, the actual people aren't on screen.
I'm not sure if we're gonna see humans in in this Lion King remake.
Yeah.
From what I
So-
understand, no. I
That's
think
what-
it's a direct
Yeah.
'Cause
scene
see-
for scene.
Right, because like the Jungle Book, I understood because there was at least one human within it.
Right.
Yeah.
But,
Or
like
but
the
the
Beauty and the
definition of
Beast.
what live, it's just interesting to me that
Right.
the definition of live action has changed because it's still technically animated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I
You
don't
know what I
call
mean?
I don't
I just think it's
call
weird.
the Final Fantasy movies live action. They're CG movies.
Yeah.
Any
Right.
CG movie out there was
So
It's
it's
true.
just
I mean-
just an aside. I think
Yeah.
it's an interesting point that the definition of what makes it a live action is changing.
Right.
Yeah.
As CG
Yeah.
increases
It
in
is.
its
I do know
capabilities.
though that they at Comic-Con they released scene, a little bit of a teaser for the people at Comic-Con, and it was kind of like the opening sequence, and they said it's exact.
Yeah.
Like, and the crowd apparently went just freaking
Yeah.
ridiculously crazy because it looked so amazingly
Now, don't
good.
get me wrong. It doesn't mean I'm
And-
any less excited about it.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
just,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
making
Just,
a
yeah, the
point. I just think it's
definition of
interesting.
it should be-
Favreau has kind of like I really kind of found his niche, I think,
Yeah,
in doing
honestly.
these like, you know, I mean, and the beauty about Jon Favreau, why I respect him so much as a director and a storyteller and even an actor. I mean, he's a
Yeah,
great actor
seriously.
too, but he's able to like, he can do these blockbusters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he did Iron Man and he does like the Lion King, the Jungle Book, and all these kind of things. And then he comes out with Chef.
Exactly.
Like this, just totally
Yeah,
indie,
exactly.
no
Put it on
money behind
Netflix,
it, kind
yeah.
of a thing, and it's brilliant.
Yeah.
As Iron Man was.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a really
Exactly.
talented storyteller. Whether
Well, it
he's
just
got a
seems
big
like
budget
he's
or
like,
not.
okay, I'm going to do the big budget comic book movie action film, and,
So that I
but I
can
can still
do
do
these
something.
other
I can
films.
do
Yeah.
this thing with heart and a little bit more
Right.
feeling
Exactly.
and a little bit less
Right.
budget.
exactly.
And look. I mean, if you're not a fan of Favreau, you really should be, and go check it because go watch Chef first of all.
Yeah.
If you want to know what kind of a storyteller he is or what he can do with an indie film without a budget, watch Chef. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And then remember one single thing if you're a huge MCU fan: Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
Robert Downey Jr. was not Disney's pick.
Exactly. He was supposed to be Tom
He-
Cruise for
and-
Iron Man.
and-
like,
and even after Tom Cruise, it was anybody but Robert
Yeah.
Downey Jr. And it was Jon Favreau
Yeah.
who said,
No.
I'm walking away if it's not Robert Downey Jr. I want Robert Downey Jr. If you don't give him to me, I'm walking away. This ain't happening.
Yep.
And he fought for him. And the studio was kind of like, but we're Disney, and this is kind of PG-13, and he's got a history, drugs, alcohol, he's, jail. And Jon Favreau apparently was like, yeah, you just described Tony Stark.
yeah.
That's his history.
Yeah.
This is Tony Stark.
exactly.
I was like, what was their counterpoints
Yeah.
for Tom Cruise? He's crazy.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
He jumps on
Scientologist.
couches.
Like, can we just talk about how short Iron Man would be? Like,
right,
like,
right.
I'm
Like,
just saying.
They got
And-
lifts, man. They got shoe inserts.
And they could
stuff.
do what they did in Top Gun. They just put a little
Platform.
box. They put a little box underneath him.
or
and
have
him
him
so
walk
they
on.
can die.
Yeah, my favorite is like when he's like with Goose.
Yeah.
I don't know how this has transitioned to Tom Cruise, but when he's with Goose, and they're eye to eye, or even when he's with Iceman and they're eye to eye or whatever. But especially with Goose and they're talking and they're like ha 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 doing all that kind of stuff, and then they start walking down the runway.
Yeah.
and then like
You're like,
it's like
whatever.
you forgot the platform He's like, he was eye level just a second ago.
Hell
like now
yeah.
he's like, what?
Oh,
Goose
my
is like
gosh.
4 feet taller than him,
That
but
shit
On
is
Top
so
Gun News, I
funny.
think they have production delays.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Now they went to a production delays, something going on. Especially, no, Tom Cruise wants to become a real pilot.
Ah, I thought he was a pilot, or at least
He wants
knows how to
or
fly
he
a
wants to
helicopter.
fly the real thing.
well, his good Scientology bunny, John Travolta.
Yeah.
I mean, he could teach him.
Yeah.
He's he
no, he
has
wants
his
to be,
own
he-
jet.
He's
Oh,
taking
shit.
like the Top Gun course, like
I think it was
piloting.
to fly like fighter pilot.
wants to be a
like
fighter
planes.
pilot.
Which
Yeah.
is ironic in itself because the whole premise of this movie is how the jets are being phased out for
Yeah.
unmanned drones.
Yeah. So, but yeah, this all started from Disney. We were on
Disney,
the
so we'll
Disney
come
thing.
back.
Disney's dominance.
Yeah.
So let's
Exactly.
Because they
And
wanted
we were
Tom
talking,
Cruise.
we were
and
talking
they-
Isn't
about
it poignant how it goes from Disney to drones and that's where it ends?
right,
Just
right.
saying.
From
Just
Disney to
saying.
drones.
Disney
that sounds
to
like
drones.
a report,
It
some
does.
sort of investigative report.
From Disney to
Tonight
drones.
on the 9
Here
o'clock
we
news,
are.
we'll go from Disney to
So
drones. and you
later
find
on
out
our
why.
conspiracy theory
That's right.
podcast,
Right.
we'll be discussing all of this.
Tonight
Oh
on
my
2020.
goodness. But we were
link
talking
Trump
about-
to Disney and drones.
We're talking about how other studios and other places are trying to compete with Disney. So Netflix has partnered with Paramount. And, I mean, they have partnered once before back in the day. Not really back in the day. A few years ago.
Last week.
Yeah, like a while ago for, like, putting SpongeBob and stuff on Netflix. But apparently...
Jackass
Yeah.
movies.
Apparently that didn't go so well when that happened. But they still have faith because Paramount is a Viacom company.
Right,
So, I mean,
yeah.
everything's just going against Disney.
Right. And this one's interesting to me because Netflix, is the dominant streamer.
Yeah.
And like you just brought up, Paramount is a Viacom company. And we all know the history that Viacom is desperately, if the Redstones have their way,
Yeah.
they want to reacclimate or remerge with or reacquire CBS,
Right.
who has at this point a really successful streaming service
Yeah.
of their own, CBS All Access. So what happens? Like, are the CBS All Access shows, if it's merged back with Viacom, going to be funneled into Netflix?
Yeah,
Are they
like-
going to keep it just Paramount stuff?
know.
Because, I mean, like,
Man.
it'll be interesting to see how that
Or
contract
maybe they'll
plays
do
out.
maybe what's been going on with Hulu, where you can get premium stuff. It's like you have Netflix. Oh, if you want CBS All Access, you pay this fee and you access their line.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Like
yeah.
this additional fee.
It's
Yeah.
very complicated.
Oh,
It
it all
is.
is.
All different types of possible tier
But-
systems.
So many different.
I really do think though by the end of the decade, it's going to be down to 4 or 5 people.
Yeah,
it's
agreed.
Disney and AT&T, which is Warner Brothers,
Right.
and probably Viacom,
Yeah.
Netflix, and then you'll have your Apples and
Yeah.
Amazons and stuff. But I really do think that the studio system is going back to classic Hollywood, where you're going to see like 3 or 4 major players.
Right.
Everything's going to go through them.
Yep.
And then it's going to be a battle for dominance. I mean,
Let's see what
I
happens,
just-
man. But I mean, it also came out that Disney will have, or the deal with Netflix's deal with Disney content ends in 2020. So all of this stuff will be pulled, but they are milking it for as long as they can because
yeah.
I don't know if anybody else saw Christmas Day Avengers Infinity War is going on to Netflix.
yeah.
And it's also Deadpool 2 is supposed to go to Netflix also.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yes.
I didn't see that.
They haven't making a release date, but it will go to Netflix.
That's
Is what
cool.
I read on the articles.
Yeah.
So it's coming to Netflix. It's just don't know when yet.
Yeah.
And our for our listeners who are like, that's 20th Century Fox. Well, that's Disney.
Yeah.
That merger's
Right.
that
Like,
merger's
it's
a done
happening.
deal. That's happening.
Yeah.
And so by the time Deadpool 2 goes to Netflix, it'll be Disney.
Exactly.
Really, like, it makes you think even more so that maybe that the cancellations of a couple of the Marvel shows
Yeah.
were. I mean, think about the timing. Okay, because they just wrapped up on Daredevil season 3, right? Jessica Jones and Punisher have already finished.
Yeah.
So we got Punisher season 2 and Jessica Jones season 3 coming.
Yeah.
That means by the time they were to go into production and then post and then have it come out,
Yeah.
it would be past the deadline
Yeah.
from when Disney's deal is done with them.
Exactly.
So were they canceled because they knew they were not going to make the deadline of
Yeah.
2020 before the release dates? I mean, now it's starting to go, wait a minute.
Wait,
Yeah.
so 2020 deal also affects the Netflix Marvel shows?
Yeah. It initially no, but then Disney changed their mind.
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Now like all that storyline
Yeah.
though is just gonna fall down
Yeah.
though.
And
Unless
then
they pick it back up with their own streaming service.
And then J-Lo and I were talking about this the other day, and we'll kind of just like bring it back a little bit with Disney and stuff. There's another major deal that's about to end with Disney and Marvel that could affect huge things, and that's the Spider-Man deal. The next Avengers and the sequel to Spider-Man are the final two films in that deal that allowed Spider-Man to be in the MCU.
Yeah.
And the person who negotiated that deal with Disney and Marvel is no longer at Sony. So,
See what
and
happens.
they're trying to build with Venom their own Spider-Man universe.
Yeah.
It's hard to build a Spider-Man universe without Spider-Man, and currently Spider-Man's not allowed to be in that universe.
Right.
So when that deal is up,
I just don't want him to get rid of Tom Holland, man. He's the perfect Spider-Man.
yeah,
really
I
is.
feel like that somebody has to be on that right
Seriously.
now, working that deal
Yeah,
out.
be prepared.
'Cause, yeah.
Ugh, scary
This
stuff.
is need a partnership deal for stuff. That's all it needs.
Yeah, but it was only for the 5 movies.
Yeah.
And then,
Man, we shall see. We shall see. But still, keeping with Netflix, the University of Michigan did a study, a small study, I should say, that showed that 13 Reasons Why has had some negative impact on young people, especially some depressed people. Now, this is my opinion, but I feel like everybody's valued to their own opinions. So maybe they persuaded them or made them say certain things. I don't know. But I think 13 Reasons Why opens up the conversation to teen suicide, teen pregnancy, which was about to happen, we think, and school shooting, which happened last season. So,
yeah.
Well, you said this made depressed people depressed.
like the show had a negative impact on young people. So it
It
only
could be causing depression
Yeah.
amongst young people. But I'm with you. I feel like for me, in my opinion, it had the opposite effect. And I guarantee you I could line up a bunch of people and do a survey that would tell you it had a positive effect on
Right.
them. I feel like these surveys are
Well, if they did a
geared
survey-
towards the way you ask questions or the
Yeah.
way you can get anybody to say something you
Right.
want them to say based on what you ask them.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Was a survey taken at Michigan State too? I wonder if
well,
they used
first
a
of
live-
all,
It's the University of Michigan.
never
The
confuse a
Wolverines,
Spartan
bro.
with a Wolverine,
Yeah.
bro. That
Sorry.
just doesn't happen, okay?
Oh, shit.
That happens one more time, you're out of here, okay? Just never go blue. Fuck the Spartans. Okay, now that we're clear on that.
I thought you were from New York.
Oh,
Why you care?
I know. Doesn't this not make any sense? He's
I-
from.
okay.
he's-
I'm surprised at the passion that's coming from behind.
Because while I was indeed born in New York and I am a Cuse fan, I am a lifelong Cowboys and Michigan fan.
Why?
right?
Because I am.
You've lived in neither Michigan nor Texas,
Hey,
and yet you have
Dustin.
such devotion.
I have the right to choose whatever team I wanted. And as a young man,
All right.
a kid,
Hold on. Oh, okay. Never mind.
I chose these teams.
I was gonna jump on the young man.
And I'm
but
not,
okay.
listen,
Yeah.
I'm not a bandwagon guy. I am with those teams, whether they win, whether they lose,
Yeah.
and they've both been losing pretty hard the last decade
That's
or
true.
so, okay? So I am a fan.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Hey,
And I am just
All right.
saying. You know who's also pissed off? Terminator 2, bro. That's right. T2 through whatever, T1000, Robert Patrick, he will whoop your ass.
Oh god.
He is a Michigan fan. He is a fan of this show.
hey, do you know
like-
what's happening? Do you know what's happening Saturday? The day after this, day after or tomorrow
What?
on the
Your
podcast?
birthday?
Go Buckeyes! It's the rivalry game.
Oh!
Damn.
Get out. We're going to have
Oh,
to finish
shit.
the show without sound, man.
Like Tavia said last week, I'm gonna punch you in the
That's
face.
right. Tavia, punch him in the face.
I don't care enough about this to
Oh.
punch him in the
hey,
face.
hey, buck you.
Oh.
All right, no, now.
Okay, we'll get
now
back to it.
Anyway,
No, no,
13
yeah.
reasons why.
I feel like my feisty has rubbed off on the whole entire group.
yeah,
Eh.
it has. No, listen.
Well, no, what I was
back
saying
to-
was, did they
back to,
use-
You see,
Did they use college
we could do
students?
a survey on what happens when Michigan fans get hit with Buckeye and Spartan shit, and it would be negative.
Yeah.
But anyway,
No, I'm just
I
saying.
digress.
Did they?
It makes me think of the old joke. They say that 75% of all survey statistics are made up,
right,
including
like,
the one I just said.
Yeah.
Right, exactly, exactly. See, so
But if
think
you have a
about it.
bunch of college students who are underneath a lot of stress, and a lot of them are feeling
Right.
more depression now,
Right.
especially in the culture that we're having right now, especially if they went to a lot of people in transition of their own sexuality or in their gender. and you interview them saying, okay, did you watch 13 Reasons Why? And yes, what it fell on you made me feel sad or depressed. I'm like, well, you're already a stressed out college student.
Right.
Or we're talking about high school students. The most stressful time of a person's life is in high school.
And what you just did, and I feel like they do this in political polls all the time.
Yeah.
You just asked the question in a way that would solicit a response that says, yes, they're depressed.
Right.
When you watched 13 Reasons Why, did you feel depressed?
Right.
That's implying to solicit I was depressed when I watched the show.
Right.
Or if you were reversed it and the question was phrased in, while watching 13 Reasons Why, did you feel a sense of relief that you could now talk about a subject that bothered you? The response would be, I had an open dialogue and it made me feel better.
Exactly.
It's how the question is posed, and you can make any survey say whatever you want.
Yeah.
I really don't feel like there's enough skepticism or cynicism around statistics when they come out. People will just spoon feed it to themselves like it's okay, I totally accept this as unbiased and completely, and like people don't think about all the different ways that it can be biased or it can be I guess misconstrued in some ways or whatever. People don't think about that.
Well,
Until it goes to Family Feud, and then they hear a survey that went the other way. That makes nuance.
Here's the thing, though. Why can't it be both? Like,
Yeah.
like I think there's a valid point on both sides of this argument. I think that it could be traumatizing for someone to watch it.
Right.
Okay? Which is why, and Lil Cam was younger when the first season was out. When it first came out and I was watching it, I'm like, I immediately called Emily and said, look, I know you're, a grown teenager. You're about to be an adult, and all that. Don't watch it by yourself. I do not want you to watch this by yourself. Because I get the point that it could be traumatizing and difficult to watch. That said, I also followed that up with, let's watch it together so we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so why can't it be, it might be traumatizing, but it's also good to start an open dialogue and a conversation about what you just saw.
And I think that the emotional response is part of the point. It's supposed to make you feel sad and put yourself in somebody else's perspective or even open up a perspective that you're afraid to talk about, like you were saying, that maybe it's supposed to kind of make you feel sad and depressed. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's encouraging people to take bad or harmful actions out of that, out of those feelings.
Right. And what I thought season 1 did extremely well, somewhat in season 2, but what season 1 did, I thought extremely well, was show that you don't know what is going on in somebody's life.
Yeah.
They might look like everything is fine, but you do not know what's going. Her parents didn't know what was going on in her life. So I thought they did a really good job of, listen, you may have a friend that you think is the happiest person on the planet. Mm-hmm. They're always smiling. They're always giving you a hug and telling you how great things are. And they could be just literally dying in chaos when they walk away from you. And so anything I think that opens a dialogue that says it's okay to feel that way, talk to somebody.
Right.
I mean, that's a good thing.
Yeah,
so
I agree completely.
So I don't know. Maybe they'll do another survey and kind of say the other way.
We'll see what happens. But I like the show. Dick Van Dyke just came out with something today, as in Wednesday, saying that he paid and convinced Walt Disney so that he could play a second part in the Mary Poppins movie. He paid Walt Disney $4,000 so he could play that part.
Oh, wow.
What?
Yeah.
And it was a banker. I don't even remember the banker.
I mean, that's
like,
how good.
Yeah.
Right? So
I remember chim chimney, chim chimney, chim chim chiroo. That's what I remember Dick Van Dyke and Mary Poppins. Yeah.
He
but
was. Yeah.
and
he was
then
also the banker.
he was dressed up as a really old man and no one even knew. Like, this interview just came out today, I believe. So
This is confusing to me.
right?
God
So
bless
now we
Dick-
gotta go back.
Like,
and
I don't
watch it
even
and go
understand.
God bless Dick Van Dyke. He could play the banker again now.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
not have to put all that makeup on.
And then they can use that fancy CGI and redo him as the younger guy.
There it is.
So
Live
It's
action.
crazy times, man.
I was kind of hoping, though, when I saw this article, I would keep reading and you would hear where, like, Disney
I
donated
know.
it to
No,
charity. Or
no.
something. He took Dick's money and put it away.
Exactly.
Like, thanks, man. I'll
Thanks,
take that
Dick.
$4,000. It's like, come on, man.
Oh, man. Yeah, I just thought that was interesting. Like, he wanted to play the character so
So
much
bad,
that he paid Walt Disney.
And
to
I
do it.
love it. At the end, he's very emphatic at the end of the article. And I'd do it again.
Yeah,
He
he says
was like, I'd pay him again to play it. I mean, like, so.
yeah,
I'm interested in the remake, though. I think that'll be interesting.
And we were talking about this earlier too. I saw something from Julie Andrews, because everybody's kind of wondering, do Dick and Julie have cameos in it or whatever? And I saw, and I don't know the answer.
I was
to
wondering
that.
I wonder if they do.
I did see Julie Andrews in an interview kind of say that she didn't think it would be right to have a cameo in it because Mary Poppins, the character itself, is so iconic and so identifiable. And she said that Emily Blunt has done just an amazing job of being Mary Poppins, that she wouldn't want to be seen in it because she would immediately be Mary Poppins because everybody identifies her. And she didn't want to do that to Emily Blunt and or the movie by trying to distinguish, well, but that's Mary Poppins. This isn't Mary Poppins. And so I don't know if we're going to see her in the film.
Yeah.
She was very adamant about Mary Poppins should be Mary Poppins and you shouldn't have two Mary Poppins.
But after hearing that, I can't wait to see the new one.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see her performance.
The critics, everybody's saying Emily Blunt nailed it.
Yeah.
Like she's, and it is a continuation for anybody who thinks it's a reboot or a remake. It is not.
Oh,
it is
snap.
a continuation,
See,
even more so why I think Julie Andrews is like,
Epic.
this is supposed to be just the continuation of the
Oh, wow.
story. So,
And that was such a groundbreaking movie in its own time, just in
was.
how they did it with the mixed of the animation and the live action.
Yeah.
That was, I don't think that had really ever been done before that movie.
No.
no.
So-
Well,
What's that? There's a movie
with
about
Tom
the
Hanks.
lady.
Saving
yeah.
Mr. Banks.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes into that. And the creator of Mary Poppins, no part of it.
Yeah.
She was pissed that this is how the movie was.
Yeah.
She was like, you're doing what? There's going to be dancing penguins. There's going to be animation.
Yeah,
You're doing,
like,
this
what?
is not what I signed
Yeah.
on for. And Disney was like, well, but you signed it.
Yeah.
And I'm doing what I want with it, and this is what we're going to do. And she was in a fight legally, verbally,
Yeah.
out in public, everywhere, trying to stop it from happening. And
Oh, dang.
then when she saw it, she was like, okay, I'm
See,
okay with
sometimes
this.
If you're not connected to the project or you're not connected to the film industry and you try to, the way that you describe things to people, sometimes it sounds silly. Like even when I've
Right.
talked about ideas I've had, I'm like, I
Right.
know this sounds dumb, but I have this idea. And then it's hard to understand where they're going with it until you see it or
Right.
until
Right.
you're a part of it or
Right.
you can visualize it just
Exactly.
through the language.
Well, I mean, Disney was crafty. I think the movie did a pretty good job of showing that he did kind of maybe bamboozle her a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, it worked out in the end. It's
Yeah.
all good in the
I
end.
loved
mean,
it. I love
it's
Mary
an
Poppins.
iconic film, and
Exactly.
the rest is history, as they say.
Exactly.
But that's a great film, by the way.
Yeah.
Disney took a lot of training from P.T. Barnum. Like he wasn't trained directly, but took a lot of advice from P.T. Barnum on how to present and how to entertain and how to get money out of people and how to bamboozle a little.
Yeah. Well, I
didn't
mean,
know that.
come on. let's
Clearly
be
it
honest.
works.
I mean, that's everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just go out and grab some P.T. Barnum's advice. I mean, he was scamming people and taking their money a long, long time ago, and still
I
kind
mean,
of.
the things you learn on the show, I had no idea that Disney knew Hugh Jackman.
So anyway,
Just kidding.
we were talking about Robert Downey Jr. earlier with Iron Man and everything. Well, apparently, Disney and Hulu has given him the green light to develop a pilot for a comic book adaptation of Sweet Tooth. Now, I looked up Sweet Tooth, and some people describe it as Mad Max meets Bambi.
What?
What? Yeah, I have. Yeah.
And so, from hearing that description, though, is there a better person to do this than
Than
Robert
Robert
Downey Jr., who
don't.
basically is Mad Max who met Bambi?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't.
I don't know because I don't understand what that means.
well, I mean, I'm
Okay, have you
guessing-
seen any Mad Max movie?
yeah.
So desert wasteland, people fighting all the time.
I'm thinking
Bambi
more
cuteness.
psychotic warrior, lunatic,
This is what it looks like.
hardcore guy
Yeah.
who's really just a big softy with a heart of gold.
Yeah, there we go.
Like
Oh,
Bambi.
okay.
Like
So, I mean, I feel like
But it's like
Maybe.
this
I don't know.
deer mixed with a human type person.
So it's like literally like mixing the deer.
yeah,
Yeah. Like,
Oh.
Yeah, it was a limited series in the Marvel comics. So, I mean, we
Oh.
shall see.
And look, it's all right. I mean, I feel like he is now the godfather of the MCU.
Seriously.
I won't say Marvel because
No.
rest in peace. That's Stan and will always
Of
be
course,
Stan.
of
But
course.
of the MCU, I mean, he's Marvel's golden boy. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And Disney's.
Yeah.
Like, because Hulu, this is a Hulu deal.
Yeah.
But Hulu is now predominantly owned by Disney.
Well, you
and
could
they are
just-
really tight with Robert Downey Jr. And this was
Exactly.
an old Marvel comic book.
Yeah.
And now they're going to give it to the MCU god.
Yeah.
And give it to, I mean,
You could see that in between the first Avengers movie and Iron Man 3, where he started complaining, especially in Avengers, about his hub scenes where he's inside the helmet. He has to film all that afterwards, and he's not really talking to anybody. It's just talking to himself and just hearing feedback from what was filmed earlier. And he was having a hard time. That's why you see him now. There's not so many hub scenes.
there's a
It's
lot of scenes
mostly
without
him-
the mask.
Yeah,
His
there
helmet
was.
is just
Yeah.
he's just out on
Yeah.
the helmet talking back and forth in the suit.
No, the single best story I ever heard to really put into perspective the importance of Robert Downey Jr. with Marvel and Disney,
Yeah.
and leads to this Hulu deal with the show and everything, is apparently while they were filming in Georgia for, I want to say it was Civil War, his dog got sick because
This is a good
it
story.
missed Robert Downey Jr. He was missing Robert Downey Jr., missing the family and everything. And so, a lot of the people involved with the production and everything were asked, well, just, bring him out here,
Yeah.
let him be. And they were like, no, he's very particular about his home. He's got his own little room and he likes it. He's very, he wants to be in his environment and he doesn't like it when he's not in his environment and when I'm not around and everything. So Disney literally purchased a place or rented a place and then had the prop people and the construction people and everything literally build an exact replica of the inside of Robert Downey Jr.'s house.
So the dog would
And
be okay.
then flew the dog out here to be
Yeah.
with Robert inside his own environment so that he would not feel bad anymore.
It's pretty epic.
That's
Like,
a lot of money
yeah.
that they spent to make the dog feel better.
Yeah, seriously.
Because it was missing RDJ.
Yeah.
But that's how important RDJ is to them. They're
Yeah.
like, no, fucking fly
No,
the dog out. Let's build
it's
the
fine.
house. Like,
It's
it's
fine.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, so.
But I mean, that's a pretty epic story on what Robert means to the MCU and everybody at Disney.
But
so
if you, on the flip side of that, the return of loyalty by every single person in the MCU
Yeah.
back to Disney.
Yeah.
They refer to them as family.
Yeah.
These people go out together. They're all like they are one huge giant,
Yeah.
except for Mark who didn't get the tattoo.
gosh, Ruffalo.
Ruffalo.
Gosh.
Well, maybe we have religious reasons not to get a tattoo.
I mean, you never know. You never know. But anyway, yeah, this song, it gets a pilot, so we shall see how it goes.
Yeah.
Sweet Tooth.
Sweet Tooth. is what it's
Man
called.
Deer.
Man Deer. Mad Max meet with Mad Max and Bambi
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is John Favreau? John Favreau could be like Thumper.
Yeah.
Like the little that guy. I mean, I'm just saying, it would be cute. I mean, come on.
I mean,
Favreau's affectionate.
just to bring up John Favreau again, I just watched the episodes with him and friends, so I just had to put that out there.
Right? See, he's a great actor,
He's a great
too.
actor too.
Yeah.
Great actor too.
Wait, who was he in Friends?
He was Monica's boyfriend. I forget his name. Pete Becker.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the MMA guy that
That's
gets his
right.
ass beat like 5 times. But anyway,
Damn.
Little John just opened up his second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Just opened up his second school in Ghana. The Atlanta rapper has reportedly contributed around half of 50. What am I trying to say?
What are you
Quarter
saying?
of $1 million.
Yeah,
Quarter of
$250,000.
$1 million to help start up these elementary school teachers.
It's half of 50%.
It's half of half a million,
$1
which is a
divided by
$250,000.
12.
Thank you.
That's
Audrey.
bad.
Fractions, bro. They suck.
Yeah, they do.
If you have half of a whole, how much is it?
He's just had way too many shots.
We didn't even have margaritas this week.
We
What the-
did it. I don't know. Brain
All right.
fart. Like, that's really what that was. But that's
The good
awesome.
news is now you can be a producer.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, shit. But it's so freaking awesome that he spent so much time over in Africa and in Ghana to
That is
give back to the kids because they're both elementary schools. So, I mean, everybody deserves an education, especially in rural countries like that. So,
Well, and the hip hop community, I don't think enough people talk about it. I mean, even like whatever he's calling himself these days, P. Diddy or Sean Combs or Sean, Puff Daddy or whatever the fuck he calls himself these days, he has contributed a shit ton, like millions of dollars to the school system in urban cities, like buying new computer labs and like there a lot of the hip hop community does that.
Yeah.
You know, they're
I was also remembering Oprah. She does a lot of elementary schools over there.
She does,
in
but
Ghana,
I had no
too.
idea Oprah was in the hip hop community.
Well, it wasn't, but it's just saying.
MC Oprah.
MC, but she
just
could
remember
be.
I
That's
just
the thing.
remember
She could be.
Yeah,
She's Oprah.
Exactly.
She
She
could
can
drop
do
She would do
anything.
Yeah,
anything
she could
felt
drop
like.
a rap.
Yeah,
Like it'd be all right. I
exactly.
mean,
Oprah
yeah.
could come out with a country album and people would still buy it.
Seriously.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
really
Well, I wasn't
would.
saying just the rap community, but in Ghana, I remember she was opening elementary schools in Ghana
That's
too.
awesome.
It's true. No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And like if Oprah did do that though, like I mean, Gail would totally be her, like, DJ, right? Like,
For
I mean,
sure.
Oh my God.
she'd
I
be
could
back
see
there
him-
spinning and scratching
Yeah.
like Gail. Because I mean, Oprah. I mean,
And who can make it rain like Oprah?
Yeah, it's
I mean,
true.
come on.
Yeah.
It's true.
man.
Everybody look under your seats.
That's right. Dollar bills, y'all. It's like under the seats. Like, I mean,
Stand the fuck up and grab your $1,000.
No, it wouldn't be just $1,000. They would all be in the gun too, ready to
my
shoot
God.
out the
Oh my
$1,000.
God.
$1,000.
Oprah goes gangster. That, I mean, come on. See,
Where is
this
this
is why
gone?
Oprah needs to come on the show.
Seriously.
Oprah needs to come on the show and talk about this because this would be epic.
Yeah, it really
What would she
be.
call herself though?
I don't know.
Mama O.
Mama O.
I mean,
O to the P.
Oh, to the P.
she whatever it would be, she would be the original O something.
It's true.
Like, if she wanted to do gangster rap, she
Yeah.
would no doubt be the OG.
Yeah.
Because I mean, she puts
Yes.
the O in OG. Just saying. I'm
so-
just saying.
Something else that I saw about the hip hop community giving back. Kanye West and Kim Kardashian just gave like $500,000 to the wildfires in California.
Oh.
So I
cool.
mean,
Straight up,
even though
that's-
he's crazy, still giving back.
Yeah.
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 'Cause
I mean,
Kanye's-
see, because that actually helps.
yeah,
Unlike raking the
Exactly.
forest floors.
yeah, exactly. He's a dumbass.
Just,
Yeah.
Nope, nope,
Moving
let's not
on.
go there.
No.
What an idiot.
So
What an
anyway,
idiot.
also other people who are against Kanye West, Taylor Swift just signed a deal with.
Give me that trophy.
Hey, look, I'm going to interrupt you for a second.
Yeah.
Oh,
good.
there it is. I was like, what is he
Well
doing?
done.
I see.
Well done.
I just want to say Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time.
That's exactly how he sounds too.
It's true.
No, it's true.
Yeah. But yeah, Taylor Swift finally signed a deal. She finally found a home with Warner Music, right?
Universal Music. Group.
Universal
Yep.
Music. That's
Universal
what it is.
Music Group.
And she gets to own all of her masters. Holy
Yeah,
shit. That's
not
huge.
only was she banking on the royalties because she's the songwriter,
Right.
so she was already getting royalties from as the songwriter.
Yeah.
But in music, I mean, first of all, you need that because if you're the songwriter, like ask Dolly.
Yeah.
When Whitney sang "I Will Always Love You,"
Yeah.
and everybody was like, "Don't you feel bad that her version's better?" She's like, "Mm-mm."
Nope.
No,
My bank account feels just
I'm
fine.
banking. I'm
Yeah.
like all the way. You just
Exactly.
keep singing, Whitney. That's
Exactly.
exactly what she. But so Taylor's already getting because she writes all of her own songs.
Yeah.
So she's already banking on the royalties from as being the songwriter.
Yeah.
But in the industry, it's all about the master who
Exactly.
owns the song,
Like,
and she will apparently.
Yeah,
So
Paul McCartney was really upset because a lot of the Beatles stuff was owned by Michael Jackson, and he had
After
no
he
control.
scammed
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't
Let's
know
do a
that.
couple of duets together.
Yeah, like
he
Say
we'll
bought-
be
Say
besties,
and
and then
stuff.
I'm
I
gonna
didn't-
jack your elbow.
Oh,
your
shit.
Jack all of
catalog.
it.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, Quincy's shady, man. It might have been Quincy.
Behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean,
maybe.
he's pretty shady.
So basically, Taylor Swift is like a gazillionaire.
Yeah.
I
And
mean-
she's about to be in another movie. She's about to be in the Cats movie. I know that's been
Yeah.
rumored for a while, but
Yeah.
I mean, people are starting to be cast.
Look, you
like,
say because I feel like Taylor's just one of those people like Hillary Clinton or like anybody where there's like
Where are you
it's
going?
Yeah.
a great divide.
Okay.
You either like are hardcore love Taylor
Yeah.
or you fucking hate everything about her. There's like no middle ground.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
So
I'd
Wait,
agree
but
with
I'm
that.
sitting
she's-
on the middle ground. I don't absolutely hate her, but I'm not going to listen to her music.
Well, then you fucking hate her.
I don't hate her.
You can only be one.
No.
If you don't listen to her music, Tavia will punch you in the face. No.
I know a guy that was in one of her music videos.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Shout out.
His name's Sean O'Pry. We went to see and Tail Camp together when we were like 8. And he's a
Wow.
model now.
Wow, nice
He's a
shout
model
out.
now.
He
Shout
really
out.
is. He was like on like GQ and shit.
That's
Wow.
epic.
Like for real though, she is a very polarizing figure.
Yeah.
Like you really either do kind of like everything or just don't. You
Yeah.
know.
Sean
And-
O'Pry said she was awesome.
Yeah, well, I mean, but look at however you think about her, though, you can't deny the fact that she genuinely seems to be a good person.
Right.
As far as she's consistently given to charities.
Yeah.
She's consistently fanned.
Yeah.
Did y'all see that Punked episode where she thought she ruined someone's wedding?
Yeah.
Oh my
She
goodness.
felt so bad.
Yeah.
Like she
That
was
was
legitimately like, we have to do something
Right.
about this.
And in her guest
This is-
hosting on SNL, she did a pretty decent job. Her acting
Yeah.
wasn't
No,
great,
her acting
but
was pretty good. And but the thing, I mean, you're talking about a person who, like, if a fan sends her a letter,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, Taylor goes out of her way to like personally go to these fans or
Yeah.
deliver something to these fans, you know, kind of a thing. I mean, she seems to be a genuinely decent person.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people don't like her because, you know, she like
For some reason or another.
intentionally, like, I guess, screws over relationships to have songs.
Apparently.
But that's the rumor.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not, but
Yeah. Yeah, you know.
Maybe.
that's where she gets her muse. Her muse is from breakup.
I mean,
Relationships aren't easy.
no, they're not.
No.
She's been with this
And
current
especially
guy
in
a
the
while,
industry.
though.
oh, really? Yeah.
Industry relationships.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine. I mean, when her and John Mayer got together, I was like, bullshit.
Yeah,
Like, because
yeah,
they're
no.
both players. Like,
Well,
get out
and,
of here.
and Tom Hiddleston. What was that all
yeah,
about?
no
Like,
idea.
what?
No,
No.
I was not
But,
expecting that shit.
I guess I heard about that afterwards. I just recently heard about her.
Anyway,
and Tom
this
Hiddleston.
Yeah.
is the reason I brought up like the kind of person that she appears to be or whatever. Apparently, one of the stipulations for this contract is that Universal, like a lot of the other music labels, owns a huge chunk of stock
Yeah.
in Spotify. And, you know, now that Spotify is kind of making all these conversions and doing these different things, a lot of the music labels are bailing.
Yeah.
And but the stock's at a pretty decent price.
Right.
So one of the stipulations that Taylor insisted upon before she signed the contract is that Universal had to agree that anytime they sell any of their shares in Spotify, the money has to be distributed amongst their artists.
Yeah.
Not just her,
Yeah.
but all of their artists.
Wow.
And I mean that's pretty
Yeah.
significant. You're
It
like
is.
saying, "Hey, look, I'm not just looking out for me. I'm
looking
telling
for
you, if you sell
everybody."
your shares in Spotify, you got to give that money to all of your stable
Yeah.
of people, you know, because it's their money."
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I thought that took a lot of, but you know, remember she did that to Apple basically when she said, "No, I'm not
Exactly.
backing down. You're not playing my shit," and
Yeah,
they backed down.
they did.
That's $1 trillion company. They backed down to Taylor.
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
exactly.
So she's got some power, and I think she knows how to use it. Mm-hmm. And she appears to use it not just for her own self,
Yeah.
but for other artists.
Yeah.
So I like her. I think
Yeah.
she's a good person.
Yeah.
She seems to be very smart.
We
and
just
she's
want
young.
you to be happy, Taylor.
And always
We
give
just want you
credit to
find love.
any real artist out there who. Well, I'm sorry. Let me retract the real part. But any artist out there who's willing to write their own songs, sing their own music.
Right.
A lot of artists, it's like 5 writers and then 5 people doing this, and then you just come in and performing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that performing is not an art of itself, but it takes a little bit away when you're not the creative force behind
Right.
that art.
Yeah.
Agreed. And I mean, and the downside to that, which she also does very well, is when it misses, you got to own up.
All right, now it is time for our guest segment. We have the one and only Shawn-Caulin Young. You might have seen him in stuff like True Detective, Godless, Santa Clarita Diet. Oh man, it's going to be really fun to talk to him today. He also just had a movie come out called Heart Baby, which our buddy Clint went up and saw the premiere of that in New York.
Yep. It's going to be good. This is like a really interesting story. And Heart Baby, a true story. And but yeah, I'm really excited to talk to Shawn because he's got a really interesting story of coming up and the way he got into acting and the story just behind Heart Baby itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is gonna be a good one.
Yeah, especially how he connected with that film. It's going to be great.
Yeah, and in New Orleans, shot in New Orleans.
Yeah.
So pretty excited about this
Yeah,
one.
let's do it.
Hello.
Hey, is this Dustin?
It is. Is this Shawn?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well, man. How are you?
Hey, I got another day. I did something right.
Hey, there you go.
I hear you. That's how we feel. Hey, listen, man, first of all, thanks for joining us today. I mean, I know it's the crazy Thanksgiving holiday week and everything. You probably got a lot going on, but we really appreciate you coming and talking to us, man.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh, please. I appreciate you guys having me. I mean, I'm honestly so impressed that you guys do what you do, because it's so hard to like get people to show up and to talk and like get this thing published and all of those things. And so I just really want you guys to know I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, man.
Thank you for
that's
saying
a great
that.
compliment, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Listen, I am really excited to talk to you today. Your story is one that I think is important to get out there. Reading your background and doing our research on you. And I just want to come right out of the gate. Thank you for all the kind words you just said about us. And I'm going to say something. I read Radioactive, and wow, that was an impressive piece of writing. And we're going to get into it about what it's about. But I'm going to make sure that we post and share that with as many people as we possibly can.
Definitely.
Please do.
I
Thank you.
think that the way you wrote it, and because the subject matter itself is difficult, but the way you wrote it and the passion in which you can clearly tell you wrote it with is just phenomenal, man. And I can't tell you enough how moving it was.
It's really heartfelt too. Yeah. Just really good.
Yeah, and so yeah, we're really excited to kind of get in and talk about the movie and talk about what you got going on. First
Thanks.
though,
I really appreciate that, guys.
oh yeah, no problem at all. And first, how we kind of do it, it's a very round the table kind of a discussion, more so than a Q&A. And you got myself and Logan here, along with Tavia, Emily, and Chris.
Logan, Tavia, Emily, and Chris.
Yes.
Hey.
We get crazy inside this farm.
You know, an ant farm's no good with one ant, man. You know, you got to have a bunch of them.
This is true. This is true.
So what we kind of do first is just kind of, for all of our listeners, just kind of do a little intro about, tell us basically about how you got started in the industry, and, you know, a little bit early on about, you know, some of the stuff that you, you worked on, and was it something you always wanted to do? And like I said, the story itself is just amazing. So I definitely want the listeners to hear that. And then we just kind of go from there, man. We'll talk about your projects, and we'll definitely get into the Heart Baby movie and a lot of the stuff that you got going on now.
Do you guys want to have a link to the film so you can actually see it?
Oh my gosh,
That
yeah,
would be
be
amazing.
brilliant.
This would be like top secret, super sneak peek.
Oh yeah, no, we would
Oh.
love that.
Pretend that
We
you
like
were
top
like
secret.
at the New York premiere or something.
Well, listen, man, listen. I want to tell you real
Yeah,
quick before we
speaking
get
of that.
started with, speaking of the New York premiere, a really good friend of ours and a former guest on the show and a fellow actor of yours, Clint James, saw the premiere in New York last night, and he was blown away. He told me to tell you that the performance is Oscar worthy in his opinion,
Oh, wow.
and that you were phenomenal.
Yeah.
And well done. And he wanted to pass along his congratulations and tell you hello. So that's Clint James.
Thank you. Yeah, I remember Clint. He's a good man. Thank you
Really
for
good
relaying
guy.
that.
Yeah, and he said the same about you. Spoke very highly of you, but wanted to definitely pass along his message. He was blown away by the performance, man. Oscar worthy, he says. So yeah, we would love to see it.
Awesome. Well, then I will make sure that I'll have Lisa send you guys the link and the password.
Awesome, appreciate that, man. So
Yeah,
let's
no
get
problem.
started. Let's talk a little bit about your beginning in the acting and how you got started in New Mexico, right? You were born in New Mexico, right?
I was actually born in Colorado,
But lived
raised
in New Mexico.
But raised in New Mexico.
Right, there
Yeah,
you
my
go.
dad was a jockey racehorse trainer, and I was raised on the racetrack. I thought I was going to grow up and be a jockey, but I got too tall. So life happened, and I decided to gamble my life another way, which was by becoming an actor. And it was one of those things that I had, discovered in third grade doing this little school play, but it really wasn't until high school when I fully fell in love with it, and I started to see that I had a place to express myself and be heard and be seen. And, given what I share in the piece Radioactive, I think you get an idea of why that was, because my entire life, as I mentioned, I have been pretending to be somebody else. And so it was a survival skill that became part of my natural way of moving through the world. And when I was getting ready to graduate, there was only the one thing that I could think about was storytelling.
Right.
Now, mind you, I honestly went to conservatory for acting because at that moment in time, I wanted to be an FBI agent.
Okay.
And I wanted to be a spy. I wanted to go undercover. And in my
epic,
crazy little world, I thought, okay, I have to have a degree to get accepted into the academy. I will go to school to get a degree in acting and be the best spy that's ever existed.
Nice.
So awesome. That is
Dude,
so
like,
That was literally my game plan.
oh my goodness. Somebody should write a movie about that.
That is
Right,
a great
right?
game plan. Yeah.
And then of course college happened, and some drugs and some drinking and debauchery, and that kind of flew out the window.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
that's how I got started.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because I think it is important, because I think after reading that and listening to you talk, there's a lot of people out there that might be going through a similar situation. And I think your willingness to open up and talk about it, not just with the film that we're going to be talking about in a little bit, but like you said, in Radioactive, and talking about the upbringing is important. And I think a huge help to people that may be going through something similar. You kind of talk about how acting became a way for you to basically escape and or be somebody you thought people wanted you to be. And to be, for all of our listeners out there that don't know, you are a gay man, and
Correct.
you had a hard time early on with that, finding acceptance. You had to go through some bullying, and wasn't always easy for you young. And so that's what we're talking about when we say that you kind of found acting as an escape to maybe kind of to be something, or a way to be something you thought that people wanted you to be. And I like how you kind of identified it as the struggle was so intense to me, that forced yourself into relationships with women, forced yourself to have sex with women, or do the things because you felt like that's what people needed you to be, or what you had to be. And let's talk about that a little bit, because I like I said, I just think there are probably so many people out there that could learn from and or take something from your ability to share, and kind of talk about how you were able to work through that. You mentioned the drugs and the alcohol and the tough time that you had, kind of, spiraling down that path. So let's talk about that a little bit, and how you got out of it.
Yeah. So for me, I grew up surrounded by very masculine role models. My dad, like I said, was a jockey racehorse trainer. He's like the epitome of the marble man.
Right.
Very quiet, silent type. So I had that as a figure. And then I had my brother, who was an all-state linebacker. And it was one of those things that I was always overtly sensitive. And I was very compassionate towards other people, to a point where I was always made fun of. And they were like, "You're way too sensitive. Man up, man up." And as I started to go through my adolescence, people were recognizing things about me that I didn't know or wasn't aware of, like my homosexuality, that I had no idea. Because here I was, just this innocent little boy who is just being his authentic self, right? Mm-hmm. And then the world kept telling me, there's something wrong with you. Stop acting like that. Stop crying. Stop being such a pussy. Stop being a little faggot. And as I grew up and went through my teens, that became more and more violent, to the point where it was a near daily occurrence in middle school. I was also going home, and my brother and I had a tumultuous relationship. He was 7 years older than me, and it became very violent at times, because in his mind at that time, the only way that he knew to help me from the way he had been taught as a boy was to toughen me up by beating me up.
Right.
And he always said, like, "We're cool now. We've made amends. It's all good." But in that moment, like he said, he was like, "I didn't know how else to help you. I just wanted you to fight back." And, as that got more and more intense, and I struggled more and more to hang on to any sense of self, I decided it was best if I just erased myself. And so I started adopting hetero norms, you know, and I started expressing myself as a quote unquote man should express. I learned how to lower my voice. I had a really high pitched voice. And so I trained my voice to be lower. I started moving and running like the other boys. I started dressing more, you know, as the other kids would dress, just so I could be accepted. And then because I had all these girls around me who were constantly, you know, feeling safe and whatever, I just went to dating them because it was easier for me to blend in in a world where I had no other choice.
Right.
And, you know, it got so bad because I couldn't understand what was happening in my mind that deep depression, anxiety, attempted a couple times on my life. One of which my parents, God bless them, you know, followed me to a highway where I tried to jump out into oncoming traffic in the middle of winter. And, you know, they stopped me from doing that. And so that skill as an actor, that ability to blend and hide it, as I think I became as skilled as I am because it was my way of surviving. And by the time I got to college, you know, I went to college on the East Coast at the Hart School.
Right.
I was surrounded by the sea of like all kinds of different people, black, white, Jewish, gay, straight, non-binary, whatever. And like my little mind was like, I'm still not safe here. So I fought against myself. And that was where I created this even further fake world and started consuming drugs and alcohol because the pain was so real and I didn't know what to do with it. Right.
Right.
And it really wasn't until a boy kissed me my sophomore year that I came face to face with it. And then I lost it and I freaked out. And I was living this dual life to where I would be one person around my friends at school and then present something else to my family. And it got so bad to the point where by the time I was living in New York, and that's its own separate book and tale, you know, I was addicted to cocaine. I was constantly dealing with some sort of substance in my system, and I crashed and burned because, you know, as a 23-year-old who is still not comfortable with his authentic self, I was butting up against my edge, right? And something had to give. And as I've learned, pain pushes you until a vision pulls you. And it was in that moment when I hit rock bottom that I called my mom and I told her outside of a Subway in Queens, and I said, you know, I'm gay. And my mom, God bless her, was like, oh, I know. And I'm like, you know, I know you may know, but it's different to say it out loud, to acknowledge who I authentically am.
Right.
And then when it came time to tell my dad, like, that was the moment when I was shit bricks, because I was like, I don't know what to do. This is like my hero. This is the guy who saved me at a time when I was at my lowest. And here I am again. And my dad, when I told him, you know, I set it up with this whole big description of like, what I'm about to tell you doesn't change anything about who I am, blah, blah, blah. And I say, I'm gay. And my dad's silent. And it felt like eternity. And he goes, you know, your mother and I love you. And now that you told me, you can do whatever you want.
Wow.
Because you're free. And that was a moment for me where I literally said out loud to the universe, God, whatever you want to describe it. And I said, thank you. Thank you. I am so lucky, because both of my parents are like in my corner. And my dad was like, you know, I always thought you were one of those artistic kids.
Well, Dad, I am.
Like, you know, and he's like, I just thought you were whatever. And then I'd ask your mom, and your mom would be like, no. And I'd be like, maybe. And, you know, so I'm very fortunate in that regard. So when it came time to step into the shoes of Crystal for Heart Baby, that was when and I had done a lot of therapy, a lot of soul searching, a lot of healing, and I had no idea that that piece of me that I had erased, I would have to come up against, because Crystal demanded me to step into that femininity that I had decided a long time ago was dangerous.
Right. Yeah,
and would cause me pain.
There's a brilliant line there that you say, and I'm paraphrasing, and forgive me. I hope it's close. Where you say that Crystal helped you find Shawn, and you were okay with finally being Shawn because of what you learned by being Crystal. And we're going to talk about that because it's a brilliant story. But a couple of things that really stuck out to me there is that it's the stigma of, and in the context of what you were saying, the norm, how many times that it's referred to that act normal, or you're not being normal, as if you know, the stigma that people put on it is if you are somehow acting in a way that they don't perceive to be the way they want you to be, you're not normal. And you know, to me, that just the idea of that is ridiculous. And to be able to,
you guys, I'm sure, know, as the men who are in the room, and the women who are there, you may know this, but when it comes to growing up as a man in America, there are very few things that are outside of a very toxic masculine figure to look at. Like, we have these Marvel superheroes now, and we look at these bodies that are unachievable for the average man. We have these ways of moving through the world as a man that our media gives us. And if we don't match up to that, there's something wrong with us, whether we're gay or straight or anything in between. It's like, we're not attractive enough. We're not good enough. And the alpha mentality that exists within the male community, I'm sure you guys can speak about it. It's horrible.
Absolutely.
Because if you are remotely anything sensitive, oh, God bless you, you're screwed.
Right.
If you're not physically like fit and like powerful, nobody's gonna love you.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that side of it up, because I think that you're so correct in that it isn't just gender or orientation, or you're right. This is a society that is dictated by the way you look, the way you walk, the way you talk. And if it's not perceived the way somebody wants it to be, you're right. You're set aside, like you're not normal. You can't be this, you can't be that. And I'm glad that you brought it up, because it isn't just one of this or one of that. It's that way towards so many groups, and
the whole system is archaic.
Exactly, archaic is a perfect word for it.
It's bullshit. It was built by a bunch of white men back in the day who, you know, were living in a very small, limited paradigm, and now we understand that human expression is far more reaching than we ever could have defined it as back in the day, because there was no possibility of anything but this and that. Women act this way, they're subordinate. You do this, you do that. Men, you do this, you own land, you rape and pillage, and it's like, that is the way it is.
Yep.
And it's so, I'm bored. I don't know about you guys, but I'm bored.
Yeah.
It's been done a few times.
Right. Yeah. Man, first of all, thank you so much for sharing. And I know it's tough to even go back there and talk about the past and the history, and God bless your parents. I think they're wonderful human beings, and the way that they were able to be there for you and to do the things, and we're glad that the attempts weren't successful. I'm glad that you were able to work yourself out of that, and I think that your bravery in talking about it is going to help a lot of people. And so much respect for you for being able to.
I do want to say something real quick. When it comes to what I've done and why I'm sharing this part about my life, it's because the trans community, my trans brothers and sisters, their experience is so marginalized that very few people, especially cisgender people who identify with the sex that they are assigned when they're born, they have no concept of how difficult it is for a trans person to just be themselves.
Right.
to just express the way that they need to express. And so for me, going back there is no big deal. I appreciate it. They live this life, and those are the individuals I really want to focus on, because like my experience fails in comparison.
So
truly.
let's talk about that. That's a good transition. Let's get into the movie Heart Baby and talk about Crystal. And let's set it up a little bit by telling people a little bit about what the movie's about. It's a true story. It's based on a true story. So let's go into that a little bit and kind of give a little description as to what the movie's about for our listeners.
Okay. Yeah, so Heart Baby is a true story of a African-American prison boxer by the name of George Lee Martin, who turned down his opportunity for freedom and Olympic gold to stay in prison to protect the one thing he couldn't live without, which was his transgender evangelical cellmate, Crystal. And it was a story that was a moment in history that was witnessed by a little over 300 people in Nashville, Tennessee in the early 80s. The film spans the course of 3 decades, the 70s to the 90s, and it focuses on the relationship between Doc and George, who were best friends, and their interaction with Crystal, who was, as I said, George's cellmate and secret lover for 7 years.
Wow. What an incredible story, and for it to be true. And there's so many stories like that are so incredible and moving, and then it's so great that they're being able to be told and understood from a real, like, human, honest perspective.
Yeah, I mean, when I read the script for the first time, I was literally like, wait, no way. There's no way that this could be real. And then when I talked to the real Doc, and he was corroborating things, and we did our research and we asked people who had been in prison with them, we found out, yeah, this whole thing is 100% real. And Angela Shelton, the writer-director, I think did a remarkable job in being able to communicate and formulate this story in a very digestible way, because it's so immense and it's so complex,
right?
That it's very easy to get lost in the semantics of it.
Right. And I love the story because you were initially brought on as a producer, correct? You read the script and you came on as a producer and started going through the casting process and ended up getting the role because of a lack of people that actually submitted for the role of Crystal. So let's talk about that a little bit, about how it came about to actually portray Crystal and how that kind of happened for you.
So when Angela approached me in summer of 2015 with the script for Heart Baby, I kind of went in blind. I read it, bawled my eyes out, read it 2 more times, and then was like, okay, so what do you need? How do we make this happen? And she was like, I would love for you to produce it with me. So I just started opening my Rolodex and started calling people. We were fortunate enough to get John Jackson, who is Alexander Payne's casting director, to come on board and help us. And one of the things that we asked was for him to search the country for a trans actress to play the role of Crystal, because, for me, it's all about representation, right? And I knew that we had to do a service to the community. After a month-long search, there was only 10 actresses submitted. Of the 10, 8 were African-American, and the 2 left. Only one kind of matched Crystal's specs, but she couldn't portray her essence. And so that was when Angela was like, I think you should do a makeup test because you can do that. I've seen your work as an actor. And I was like, oh, I don't know about that, y'all, because that's like me skirting into a very tricky territory.
Right.
So I did it. And Doc, the real Doc, who knew Crystal, he saw a picture and he cried, and he was like, he looks like her. Like, wow. I don't know how you guys did that. So that was when I said, okay, well, look, if I'm going to do this, I have to live as a trans woman. Like, I have to go method for this, because there's no other way for me to understand that experience other than to live it.
Right.
So I started working with Larry Moss, who coached Hilary Swank for Boys Don't Cry, $1 Million Baby. Mm-hmm. He's worked with a lot of actors. And we spent close to 20 hours together. And it was with him that I discovered Crystal's voice. I started doing feminization vocal techniques that trans women use. 2 hours a day. I grew my hair and nails for 6 months. I started going down this dark and crazy rabbit hole, and it was almost instantaneous that I started to experience what I believe is the norm for trans people. When you don't fit into those, what we were talking about earlier, those norms of what a man should be and look like and express like,
right,
you get pushed back almost instantaneously. And I started very quickly hiding what I was doing. I was very ashamed, and I was like, whoa, this must be what it's like. This is weird that I'm already feeling this kind of loathing and this need to hide because it's not safe.
Right.
And I was constantly on edge. So by the time we got to New Orleans and I had fully, quote unquote, transitioned into Crystal and got the hair extensions, eyelash extensions, I cosmetically shifted my face. I did it all. I learned how to walk with Miss New York in heels. I feminized myself so much so that my day-to-day expression, Shawn was fading away, and there was just Crystal. And after our final makeup test, when I walked out of the trailer, I got catcalled by my own crew.
Right.
And I was like, whoa, this is this is a trip, because I have never experienced that before.
Right.
And I was passing. And for those who don't know what that means, everyone thought that I was just a woman.
Right.
Right. And like you
not
said,
trans, just a woman.
And then they recognized or they realized who you were, right? Because that's a great part of the story too.
Very quickly. And
yeah.
they were like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And so here I was, like, already dealing with this objectification and this degradation that quickly became my daily experience. It got so bad to the point that night when we went out, I was physically, this big guy grabbed my ass and was staring at me, and I was thinking to myself, oh shit, like, he's clocking me. He can see that I'm not who I'm presenting myself to be. And that was another moment of like, oh God, like, just going out and trying to date as a trans woman or a trans man, like, how difficult that must be. Just daily interactions. And I realized right then, I was like, this is the female experience.
Right.
This is a woman's experience, all women's experience. This kind of thing that you're somebody's property, that they can just touch you whenever they want, that there's no repercussions for that. And I was like, in that moment, I was so scared, because I was like, I'm so not used to this that I don't know how to proceed. And for me, I imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, ladies, like, you become numb, right? Like, because
you kind of learn to be really defensive, and you think about scenarios as how they could be harmful. Like, that, I think that men, it never occurs to them, like, if I'm at my house and I have to have somebody come to the house, to fix something, like, that's scary for me. And I don't think a lot of men think about that. Like, to me, all these thoughts run through my mind, like, should I have someone be here? Should I have someone, like, call and check up on me? Like, what if he's not who he says he is, or realizes I'm home alone and decides to do something, and I have to, like, reassure myself that, okay, I have my dog here, I have my pistol here. I don't think men have to deal with that. And there's all these different scenarios so that's incredibly eye-opening and powerful for you as a perspective to know and to really understand, because I don't think a lot of people do get it until you really are faced with it as you are in that situation.
Yeah, I think men will never really understand until they take a second to actually put themselves in a woman's shoes. Because when I left that night and I was outside, there was these two drunk guys, going off of just what you said. Like, I'm waiting for an Uber, right? And mind you, there was nothing sexual about how I was dressed. I was just a very pretty Southern belle, right? And these two drunk guys asked me if I was looking for company for the evening. And I said no. And it was like instant. The turn happened instant. And I was a fucking bitch, and I was a whore.
Yeah.
And what was my problem? And then they started following me, and I was like, oh, Jesus. If they discover that I'm trans right now,
right,
this is going to be even more exponentially dangerous than just how it is right now. They could have raped me. They could have killed me. It could have gone south so quickly, and thank God my Uber arrived. That poor man. I jumped in the car, and I was like crying and like snot all over me. And I'm like, and he's like, where are we going? And I'm like, just the Bourbon Street, because that's where I was living, which was insane in itself.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I can imagine.
But the whole experience definitely shook me to my core, and
sadly,
it wasn't until I started getting stalked that I realized how isolated.
I'm glad that you bring up though the danger in it, or the potential danger in it. Because it makes me think. It makes me think of a story here that happened here where there was a transgender woman who did go out, and she was on a date. She was on a date with a serviceman. Had a lovely time, doing the thing, like couples do, and are having a good time. And apparently, I guess when they went back to the hotel and the guy did realize that it was a transgender woman, he ended up killing her, like you said.
Right.
And I can only imagine the fear that to have to live every day to know that might be a possibility, because you're living the way you feel you need to live, or comfortable with how you are and who you are. That's got to be crazy, because normal day life for people, you don't wake up and think you might die because you want to be who you are. That I can't even imagine the thought process in that.
And sadly, I'm not surprised that you were treated that way, that they acted that way. That's very common. That if you're hit on by a man as a woman and you're just not interested, and even if you're polite about it, and if you say no thanks, just doing my thing, you're right. It changes in an instant. And that's another perspective for me that I've never experienced as a woman of as a trans woman, that to know that there's another level of danger to that could incite even more rage for no reason. It's crazy.
And no offense, I don't know if anybody is any ethnicity other than white who's there in the room with you all, but that's another perspective. It goes even deeper. So if you are a trans woman of color,
right,
it's even worse, because within those communities there's an even deeper sense of rage and violence that comes up, because there is such a judgment and a disgust. 27 trans women here in America have been killed so far this year.
Right.
Wow.
Most of them are trans women of color.
As was this one that I brought up to you.
It's an epidemic with how we are raising our kids.
Agreed.
Honestly.
Yeah.
That's it. We are raising our little boys to view women as property, and that if they don't abide or act the way that we want them to act, that we are going to make them. And women are taught, from a very early age, you look pretty, you smile, you submit, you do this thing, you always have a gun around, you make sure that you're taken care of. So it's your fault if you haven't prepared accordingly. And it's like, what is that?
Right. Right.
What is that? That's not a society where people are created equal. That's a society that it's only for a select few.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I can only imagine. Let's talk about Crystal in the movie a little bit more, and because her story was just insane to me as well. That you're basically framed by her own family and sent to prison because of who she was. And now I'm not familiar with the story. What was it known that it had to have been just absolute craziness in prison to be Crystal and then to be in a relationship. Explain that a little bit about what that relationship must have been like in prison, and knowing that she was basically, as you said, and I love your terminology, erased by her biological family.
She literally was. She literally was. So Crystal was born in the 60s to a very wealthy family in Nashville, Tennessee. Her mother and her 2 brothers are still alive. This family is a $14.8 billion family, super born-again evangelical Christians who obviously had no concept of what to do with this child that wasn't bending to their wishes, right? And so they sent Crystal to military school, reform school, conversion therapy, all of which she didn't change who she was. She was this remarkable human who was like, I'm a child of God and I was made perfect. And so to think about somebody existing that way in a time and place where the word transgender didn't even exist yet, and who is showing up in the world being like, this is who I am. Mind you, she struggled. She was, abusing substances and whatever. But it got so bad to the point where she wouldn't do what they wanted her to do that they started paying her to act like a boy.
Right, yeah.
And then when she wouldn't even do that, that was when they created fake drug charges. She got busted with 4 kilos of cocaine in the back of her dad's car.
Oh, wow.
Was sentenced to 50 years to life. When Timothy went into prison, that's Crystal's dead name. Timothy, there was a death certificate that was issued. Timothy died, right? Wow. And Donnie Webb was created. Donnie was the name in which she was protected under, so that the family wouldn't be embarrassed, so that nobody knew anything about the situation. So because she was so rich, and because she still was a white person of privilege, the rules were very different for her. So even as a trans woman who walked into prison in Tennessee in the 70s, she knew that her money and her access, she could still control the situation. So she was paying guards off. She was getting makeup flown in from New York, fashion. I mean, she was living, ironically, her best life inside the confines of prison walls. Damn. So here's this being, right, who walks in, and everyone's like, and Doc and George will tell you, when she walked in, they were like, who let the woman in here? Why is there a woman in here? Everyone was so confused because she was just full-blown lady. Right. And, from what I've learned from them, her world was so, every day was a dangerous experience. And she got so fierce and so cold and protective that she could quote the Bible left and right and shut people down. Wow. I mean, she was eviscerating people, and that's why Doc hated her so much, because she was a better Christian than he was. She knew God better than he did, and he couldn't handle that. Right. And I mean, Doc even told me this story about him coming into George and Crystal's cell, and there she was, duct taping her genitalia away because she hated it so much. Wow. It's like, to think that is this person's experience. Yeah. That they are so not in the correct body, that they are willing to do that to feel a sense of how they feel they should look. It's a pretty strong person. And also to have her connection to faith despite all this. Absolutely. That's something in the trans experience that I don't think we've necessarily seen yet, is seeing somebody who really knows that God created her perfectly the way she was and took care of everyone in prison who was like her.
Yeah, you're right.
Who was on the outside.
Which again is why this movie is important and why this story needs to be told. You're right. It isn't something that people have seen before. It isn't something that people have heard of or can identify with. And it's time. This story needs to be told. And I'm so glad that yourself and the people involved in this project know that and made this movie happen and are bringing this story to the public. Seriously? Because
my goal with this project and with playing Crystal, my goal is really is for her to be remembered.
Right.
Because her family, like I said, literally erased her. The only people who knew her were her inmates and friends in prison. And obviously you can tell I get really emotional about it, but it's one of those things that I just want her to be known and to be seen, because the only thing that has survived of the real Crystal is a recording of her singing with her friend in prison. And it's featured in the movie twice. And so when you hear it, that's the real Crystal. That's her voice. And that's all that's left. There's no photos. There's no nothing.
Right.
And so...
Yeah, I wanted to say that's what I was hesitant because I didn't want to do spoilers for the film, but she did pass away in prison, correct?
Correct. She died of AIDS in 1993 from drug use. She had always been monogamous to George. But yeah, it was sharing her needles and sharing her drugs that led to her contracting HIV and then eventually AIDS.
Wow.
So it's just, wow, what a
people
gripping,
need to see this film.
Yeah, they need to see this film.
Yeah.
This is an overwhelmingly compelling and important story, and with unfortunately a tragic ending, and an ending that didn't have to be.
I have to say this: there is one of the most beautiful moments that is really uplifting. So, as tragic as this is, there is a moment at the end of this movie that literally people, they cry because of the pure joy of it.
Good.
And
That's good.
And that's where I say there is this ray of hope, this ray of sunshine, because even though our correctional facilities and the system is so broken, there is still the possibility for healing and for the evolution of a human being. And we highlight that at the end of the movie. And it's truly like a moment where you're like, wait, what?
Yeah. You know, something that stuck out to me with this interview, and one of the things I really love about doing these interviews and this podcast, is that there's a lot of things that, like, a lot of themes and ideas that kind of get repeated, you know, unintentionally by all of our guests. And one of the things that we just talked about last week with another actress, Lucy Pohl, is that being in this industry can help you find yourself, can help you deal with the things that you, like you said, that you have pushed down inside yourself, that you refuse to come up with, or that you tried to run away from, and you're forced to confront it and accept it and then own it. And so I think it's really powerful that this has the ability to help other people do it who just are watching it, but has also helped you as part of the experience and making it do that for yourself, even more so than you had already done at that point, you know, until that point. So I think that's really cool. I really enjoyed hearing about that.
Well, thanks. I mean, it's one of those things, right? Like, from a total, like, ego place, I was like, oh, I'm good. I'm healthy. I'm totally fine. There's nothing wrong with me anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And then this role comes along, and it's like, oh, no, honey
Hold
child.
up.
You still got a lot to learn. You
Right.
still haven't dealt with this shit. And that's honestly been the best gift, is Crystal gave me myself.
Oh my
Wow.
My
gosh.
full
so
and
crazy.
authentic self.
Yeah, and
Wow.
that's beautiful. That's
It really
beautiful.
is.
And, you know, I love that you refer to yourself as a storyteller, because I think that art is a story that needs to be told. This needs to be, and another theme we hear, you know, week in and week out is that if you can just touch one person with your art, then you're doing something that matters.
Exactly.
And if even if it's just for one person that you can touch. And I have a strong feeling that this is gonna help and touch on just a grand level.
I
And
can share with you real quick that last night I published Radioactive to my website and started sharing it.
right.
And within like 20 minutes, I got an email from this woman who has a trans son. And she said, I just want to thank you for what you've done and for telling the story and sharing what you wrote in Radioactive, because I never realized that my son was dealing with the level in which he's dealing with this stuff.
Right.
I mean, he dresses up as a girl just to go to work because it's easier.
Wow.
And she was like, I know that there are things that he isn't telling me because he's afraid that I'm going to cry or whatever. And so, like, going off of what you just said, that's the only reason why I do it, is so that, there is an awakening, hopefully, for somebody who is in a limited belief system. Yeah. And in the same token, maybe it saves one trans life. If that's all I do, if I save one trans person, I did my job.
Yep. Yep.
That's it.
Wow.
That's it.
So much
respect. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and listen, man, we appreciate you coming on and opening up and sharing not only your story, but like you said, the struggle for so many transgender individuals out there that go through this on a daily basis. And this is a subject that needs to be talked about.
Agreed.
And open dialogue is how acceptance is going to happen finally. We need to talk about it. We need to have people listen and hear and realize what's going on in this world. And it's people like you that are going to make that happen. So
honestly,
thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your kind words and for having me. I'm so grateful. I think going off of what you just said, like that's the only way that we're going to get through this.
Absolutely.
As human beings on the same little blue marble that's floating in space.
That's right.
The only way this is going to work, and especially in this country, is we have to start talking to each other and really talking to each other and not villainizing the other side, wherever side you stand, and sitting down and going, okay, hey, so tell me about your experience. Tell me about why you feel that way, and holding the space even when you don't want to, even when you want to like throw a table.
Yeah,
well
like,
said.
Really sitting there and trying to understand and find empathy for another person's experience. Because at the end of the day, we all want love, and we all want to live a really happy life. Some of us are just a little more lost than others.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't end it any better than that. I think that's perfectly said.
I'm so excited to see that. Like, I cannot wait to see it.
I'll get you guys this link, and please, like, let me know all of your thoughts, and sit down with your families or whoever.
Absolutely.
Stream it on your Apple TVs. Do whatever, and please enjoy.
Oh, we absolutely will. We follow you, and we're going to tell everybody where to follow you and everything. And a little interesting tidbit that I thought was interesting, and maybe we can share, hopefully. We'll edit this out if you say no. But is it true that Shailene Woodley makes an appearance in this film?
So my two best friends are Shailene and Isadora Garester. Isadora is on Shameless.
Uh-huh.
She plays Svetlana, and so they came down to support me as their friend, and they played extras in the film.
Oh, cool!
And
that's fantastic.
What's awesome is they, as women, were dressed as men and played men.
Oh,
so
cool!
Epic.
They are hidden in a scene. You can see them very clearly, and hopefully, it's a fun little Easter egg for you all to keep an eye out for, because
so epic.
They were remarkable, and it was weird for me because I was looking at my best friends and I was like, where did you guys go? They started acting differently. They were dudes.
Yeah.
And so it's a really cool, fun little hidden gem.
Absolutely.
Oh man.
Listen, Shawn, thank you so much again for taking the
Seriously.
time on this holiday weekend and
thank you.
For talking to us, and open invite.
Anytime.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Anytime. Open invite. You come back and talk about whatever you want to talk about, any projects you're working on, or if you just want to come shoot the shit with us. You dude, man, anytime you want to, man.
I would be honored. And if you guys need anything else from me on my end, please just let me know.
We will absolutely do it. Listen, man, you have a blessed Thanksgiving.
You too. Happy Turkey Day, all.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And we'll be in touch soon, man.
All right, sounds good. Thank you all. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Man, so much
I think
respect.
our most emotional interview
seriously.
so
You could
far.
hear and feel the
Yeah.
passion and the emotion over that
And the
project and the
voice.
story.
Yeah.
And God bless. I mean, it just the moments where he broke down. I mean, like it just. I mean, Chris, you bring up a good point. Maybe our most emotional interview, but dare I say, maybe our most relevant interview so far that we've ever done. I mean, in this, I mean, he couldn't have ended it any better with like, we're all just human beings on this blue marble, and we all just want to be loved.
Yeah, perspective is such a powerful thing. I mean, for him, for the perspectives that he got, I mean, he was obviously a very open-minded person anyway, and then to be open-minded to it and then to experience it are two very different things.
Right.
And then even further out of that, of another perspective of we're just on this little planet that's inside the. I mean, it's so powerful to think like that, and I try to do that myself. I think I could really relate to trying to look at things that way.
Everybody gets wrapped up in their own lives and their own shit. They don't think about anybody else or anybody else's perspective, like you said.
One of the things that I found most interesting was the stark contrast in the road that could have been. I mean, when you think about the parents of Crystal and his parents, who, and now you can do whatever you want.
Exactly.
That difference. Exactly. We have Shawn today. We talked to Shawn today because he had parents who were like that.
It's such a
two different
powerful thing.
economies.
And I was thinking about that too, with with how great it was that his parents were like that. And then something that my mom always told me growing up, and I didn't even, I wasn't even dealing with any issues of like gender or anything like that, but just a general mantra that my mom always told us was, normal is highly overrated. I grew up hearing those words over and over again, so that I never had to feel like I had to define normal by what everyone else did.
Right.
And that if I did, it could be boring. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's how my best friend Tom is like. He always instilled it of there's no normal.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Normal's a terrible thing. Normal's bland. Normal's not good.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I like that that's what it does. It does say, there is an idea of what is quote unquote normal, but it's overrated and boring anyway.
Exactly.
Like you don't even need it anyway.
I love that.
Yeah.
But anyway, make sure to go follow him on all social media. On Twitter, he's at Shawn-Caulin, and on Instagram, he's at Shawn-Caulin Young. Make sure to go follow him. Amazing story, amazing movie. I cannot wait to watch this.
Me too. I'm so excited.
Heart Baby, I think Facebook and Instagram and everything too. So check that out too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Audrey Walters, man, this is the definition of a working actor. She's been doing this consistently since 2009, and man, she has not stopped there. She has been on things like Preacher, What If, Mile High Lacey. So it's going to be really awesome to talk to her today. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm pumped. And she's worked with two legends, Jane Fonda and Robert Redford.
Yeah,
I mean, how's that going to be? That's going to be awesome.
Hell yeah.
All right, here she is.
All right.
Hello.
Hey, this is Audrey Walters.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, doing great. First of all, welcome inside the Crazy Ant Farm. We appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So, how's it out in LA right now? Are you weather-wise?
Actually, I'm not in LA right now. I'm in Colorado.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
I bet even better.
But it was gorgeous in LA whenever I left. It was, nice, about 80 degrees. Here, it's about 60.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We always ask because we're always jealous. We're like, in over just outside New Orleans, and it's like still summer here. So, no fall weather anywhere in sight. So,
my family lives in South Texas, and they have the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just always hot and muggy. Exactly. They've had a lot of rain, though. Have you guys had a lot of rain?
We have had a lot of rain. Nice little stretch of it. Can't get away from the tropical storm. So yeah,
that's a bummer.
It is. Well. I hope you're enjoying Colorado. So that's good, and the cooler weather.
Yeah.
So we're excited to talk to you today. We noticed a lot of stuff. We have a lot of stuff in common. The broadcast journalism. Oh yeah, broadcast journalism. Both Logan and I. That's who you're speaking with today, by the way. We don't have the whole bunch with us today. It's just me and Logan. But
nice.
Yeah,
Hi,
we
hello.
We got started in broadcast journalism as well before making the transition into what we're doing now. So we've got a lot of stuff, in common there. And we noticed that your current project that it's getting ready to come out. We did some location scouting in a lot of the places that you guys shot at there. So got a lot to talk about with that. Oh yeah. So we're excited. Like I said, we're really pumped to talk to you today.
Well, thanks. Me too.
Good. So, interesting background here. Because you got started. You were kind of late getting started in the whole thing. With you went to school for the broadcast journalism, and then stay-at-home mom, and kind of did raised a child, and then kind of was like, hey, wait a minute, I kind of want to maybe do this acting thing.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit and how you kind of got started in it. And was it something you always wanted to do, or was it you were sure you wanted to be a journalist and just kind of made the transition, or how did it all go down?
I was sure that I wanted to be a journalist until I got my feet wet and started actually being a journalist, and then I realized that was not for me at all. I'm just a naturally curious person, so I love to learn about people and talk to people, much like you guys do, interviewing people and talking with them.
Absolutely.
I just didn't feel that there was a place for me in that world of journalism in particular. And then, all my career aspirations, I guess, kind of got put on hold. I raised 3 kids.
3? Wow.
Oh,
Wow. Okay.
3. Yes. So stayed home with my kids, and my husband went to medical school and residency, and I was kind of a single parent, so it was a good thing that I stayed home with the kids.
Absolutely.
They definitely needed somebody around to be there for everything. So I always had an interest in acting, believe it or not. It was something I always wanted to try. And I think what happens sometimes when you are a stay-at-home parent, whether it be mom or dad or whoever, you get so immersed in your kids' lives, and everything is about them. I don't know. Do y'all have kids?
I do. I have a daughter, and much the same situation. While I was working, her mom stayed home with her and raised her, and yeah, I mean, I feel like I completely understand where you're coming from with that. I think, you do kind of get immersed in your child's life and kind of put your ambitions on hold, and totally understand that.
Absolutely, and I am so glad that I got to have that time. I'm so grateful for it because I'm super close with all my kids. You know, so that's definitely time that I would not have wished had gone any other way, for sure. But I think also being a stay-at-home parent, you lose a lot of yourself and things that were important to you and part of like who you really are to your core.
Right.
And so I started taking acting classes once my kids got a little bit older, as kind of just to give myself something that was just me.
Yeah. Right.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So I just kind of did it as really to kind of give back to myself in a way and try to find myself again after being immersed in having babies.
Right.
Yeah.
And once I started taking the classes, it just kind of snowballed from there, and I realized how much I loved it and enjoyed it, and I started off with one agent, and then was able to get into the New Mexico market, and that was really my huge breakthrough as far as getting to the next level of projects to work on.
Awesome. It's really cool. I mean, what better way to re-find yourself than acting classes, because you kind of get to play around with all different kinds of people, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
like, who am I? I get to be anybody I want and kind of see where I'm really at.
Different personalities and
right?
stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's like, maybe I'm this person, or, oh, this is the real me. That's awesome. That's a great story.
Thank you.
And
I know we all call our acting classes group therapy.
Yeah,
there you go.
I could totally see that.
Definitely.
That's what we call this show.
There we go.
So
we all have to have our ways of getting group therapy, right?
Exactly. Well, listen. First, let me just quickly say, congrats on the stay at home mom thing. I think that's commendable, and I much respect for everybody who does that. I think it is crucial for successful children in life to have that. So much respect for you for that. Thank
you.
Sure. New Mexico. Let's talk about New Mexico a little bit, because I don't think a lot of people until just recently really realized how big in the film industry and television industry Mexico really is. New Mexico really is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Netflix is moving there. They know.
We've
so,
talked about that on the show
yeah,
before.
isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it really is. So yeah, is that where you get the majority of your work? Do you go back and forth between LA and New Mexico a lot now, or what is? I mean, like I said, your current project we know shot in New Mexico. So do you still find yourself gravitating there more often or not?
I do. New Mexico has been so good to me. It was a pretty well kept secret for a lot of years.
It really was.
Actually, when I started out there, it must have been like 7 or 8 years ago, and the only 2 shows that were casting were In Plain Sight and Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I got started doing the whole thing. And I love to go to New Mexico and work. And now that I've worked there so often, I know my way around. I've established some relationships down there. You know, it's a great place to be. And I think anytime that you're an actor and you get to be out of LA and work on a production, and you're on location somewhere, it's just an entirely different experience. It's kind of like being at summer camp or something like that. If I can compare it to something.
Yeah.
It's so much fun because everybody is kind of doing the same thing, you know, staying in a hotel, working, just trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to do tonight? Let's go visit that local museum and that type of stuff.
Exactly.
Right. And you guys couldn't have picked a more beautiful place, New Mexico. I mean, amazing. We went out and scouted a little bit, Bonanza Ranch. Have you been out there and shot out there a little bit?
Yeah, that's where we shot Big Kill.
Oh, nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you meet Irma Jean?
Oh, I'm sure I did.
Yeah.
There were so many people that were there. George R.R. Martin came by our set one day.
There you go.
Yeah, and that was kind of fun, especially for all the Game of Thrones fans.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and all his staff was telling us, just don't ask him about when he's writing more books. He gets like the same questions over and over and over. But yeah, we had lots of people. So I probably did run into Emma Jane. Is that what you said?
Yeah, and just the history of Bonanza Creek in itself. I mean, I don't think people realize that, like, all of the stuff that's been shot there since way back. I mean, how crazy for us. I know when we first went there, and she takes you on this tour, and she drives up, and here's this entire town in the middle of nowhere. It's like it's an amazing thing when you first kind of see it. It's just like it's incredible what they've been able to do with the locations out there. It's absolutely beautiful. Like Jayla said, it's gorgeous out there. So
it is. You have like a holy feeling when you're there, especially all the different storefronts, basically, because there's no insulation in any one of those buildings. And when we were working nights in the middle of winter, because we shot this in November and December, it was freezing.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
A little chilly.
It was so cold, but it just, like you said, it came with this history, this really rich history. I think it's like going into an old church.
Right, yeah.
It just felt holy. Like, you think about all the people who had been there before you and different paths that they've all taken.
Right.
And yeah, a lot of it has not changed one bit.
Yeah, exactly. And there was a great story that she told us about this Santa Fe. Actually, they tried to run a railroad through there, and she was having no part of it. She's like, you're not bringing a railroad through here and messing all of this up. And she called the governor, and she got on with the federal government, and she literally stopped the railroad from coming through there. So
that is awesome. I did not know that.
Yeah, it was incredible. Just so many little stories like that about that particular place is just incredible. And then Ghost Ranch also. You guys also did up at Ghost Ranch in Abiquiu.
It's beautiful out there.
Yeah, we did. I was not on that part of the production. When you see the film, you'll see how there was like 2 different locations, but I didn't get to work on that part of it. But yeah, the production did.
Yeah, well, it's if you get a chance to go up there, if you haven't gone up there, go. It's beautiful, and Ghost Ranch itself is just wonderful. So definitely check that out when you go back. So let's talk about the Western a little bit, because this is exciting. I mean, Danny Trejo. I was like, oh, you get to work with Danny Trejo. I mean, that's got to be awesome.
That's epic.
I know.
Who doesn't want to work with Danny Trejo? I mean,
yeah. He was great. And Lou Diamond Phillips. Absolutely loved him. And Jason Patrick. I mean, all of these. We had such a great team of people. We just had a lot of fun. They were all so down to earth, and everyone was just like, there was this camaraderie, you know. We would play penny poker at night.
Oh, that's awesome.
When we would wrap, just for something to do, you know. But it was a great group of people, that's for sure. I mean, I had definitely a camaraderie, especially with my fellow Texans, Lou and Scott Martin, the director, who was also in it, is a Texan, native Texan. So it was kind of fun. I mean, I haven't lived in Texas for about 25 years, but you know how it is.
Once a Texan, always a Texan, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Don't hold it against me.
No. What? Not our favorite place to drive through by any means, but we won't hold it against you. No.
So it was just a great group of people, and even the crew, everyone just was exceptional and had a great time.
Awesome.
Yeah, have you been to Danny Trejo's taco place?
Well, no. We've seen it dozens of times when we're out in LA, but we have not stopped yet. And doesn't he have a coffee and donut shop also or something like? I mean, it's just all over the place. Yeah.
It's just funny to be driving and see his face.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. On the building, because it's like, oh, there's Danny.
Yeah. And he's probably, I'm guessing, you know, because we hear all these stories. We had Sam Medina on the show a while back, and he was talking about Danny Trejo. And, you know, you just picture this really mean, badass guy that's ready to kill you, but he's really like the nicest guy ever. So,
yeah,
it's just so crazy.
Yeah.
And he apparently makes a mean taco. Who knows?
Yeah.
So okay. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and much success for that. We hope it just knocks it out of the park in the theaters and stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Let's see what else. Let's talk about a little bit about Jane Fonda and Robert Redford and what it was like to work with legends like that on the Netflix film. Our Souls at Night, right?
Yes.
What kind of experience was? I mean, I can't even imagine the two of them, one alone working with, but both of them.
Yeah,
that had to be something
crazy.
It was just, it was a once in a lifetime experience.
Exactly.
I bet.
It really was. And I think one of the most amazing things is whenever you look up to people like Jane Fonda and Robert Redford for so many years, and you kind of have built up in your mind who they are and what they're about, and to get to meet them and talk to them and look at them face to face and work together, it was transformative. I mean, it really was. It transformed me as an actor to a different level, if that makes sense. It was awesome, and they were so kind and generous and just great people, just really gracious people.
Awesome. Transformative. That's a great word. I can imagine with just the experience alone, just learning from them on the same set. I can only imagine. Completely understandable, but with what you say about what you were able to, how it changed you as an actor. That's amazing.
Definitely.
So, Yeah. Well, okay. So let's talk about that a little bit, because the industry is it's kind of changed and it's evolving almost on a daily basis. The way that things are going on. For example, the push to away from theaters and into streaming and digital and social media and all of the kind of new aspects to the whole approach. How have you found that as an actress to your approach? Do you find that social media is indeed important for you? Do you approach it differently now with auditions, or are you worried about followers, or how has that kind of changed how you kind of go?
Honestly, I feel like social media is a necessary evil.
Yes, agreed.
You're not the first one to say that, so you're not alone.
It is a key component to having an online presence, of course, and there are definitely some pros to it. I love that that people will reach out and ask questions, and you can be communicative, and I love it as a great way to support each other on really fantastic things that people want to share in their lives. I just personally just struggle with it a little bit, because I think it could be just kind of the way I was raised, just at my core, to have a little more humility than being like, look at me, I'm doing this, and,
right.
Now I'm doing this, and yay. I just struggle with it a little bit. So it's fantastic, and it's a wonderful way to get your passions and your creativity and excitement out there for so many people. It's just not my favorite, personally.
Well, and it's work. I don't think people realize, you're constantly worrying about content and what I need to put something out. I need to put something on there. And I can see where that's got to be like extreme. You're working hard enough as an actor already, and the thing, and then to have to worry about, did I post a video today? Did I say something today? I mean, it's got to be stressful. I mean, I would imagine.
It is. I mean, it's just hard to find the balance of what feels right. And I do think to each his own, some people, it's wonderful. I mean, I even heard from a friend of mine whose son was going through depression as a high schooler. And some of the counselors had informed her and said, you know what, actually, social media is a great way for him to reach out, because it's helping him express himself, and he gets support. And as long as, you monitor it and make sure nobody's bashing him or saying anything horrific, it's actually a positive thing. So, I mean, I think that there's so many different aspects to it. And I think it's pretty cool how you can kind of reach anyone. It's just like there's no one who's unattainable when it comes to social media.
Absolutely. That's two great points in that little stretch there. I really think it's like a double-edged sword, because like you just said, it can be such a valuable tool to reach out and reach people and talk to people and used in a positive way. But then on the other side of what you were talking about, where you have to be careful, because you can use it to bully or abuse people, because like you said, you can reach anybody. And so it's just one of those things like you said, you have to balance and learn the good and the bad of it, and just kind of. But you're right. I mean, we've heard it from numerous guests. It's a necessary evil in today's entertainment society. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Absolutely. And then to your point about how there's so much streaming going on now and less movies that are actually in theaters, I find it incredible, because I feel like there's more content and there's more projects available, and there's just more work to go around, and I think it's awesome. I love it whenever I stream a show on Netflix or something, and it is full of actors who I don't even recognize, who were freaking amazing.
Right.
I just think it's incredible, because I've been in different situations where people are so hungry for the work, and it can be an ugly scene sometimes. A little bit, and
absolutely,
some actors could get totally cutthroat about things. And I do feel that the amount of content and resources that are out there, everyone's not fighting for the 3 networks, that get on a show on just these 3 networks, or just to get on this handful of shows. And there's so many different shows and so many ways to view amazing content out there. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, you're not going to get an argument from us on that.
Yeah.
We are in complete agreement. I think it's a great thing. And like you said, I think it's an opportunity for so much talent that's unseen and undiscovered.
Yes.
And because you see so much original right now in remakes and reboots and sequels. And it's nice to see somewhere where you're seeing original content with raw talent and able to showcase it. So we agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Us too. So, all right. Well, let's talk about the other biggie in the room in the entertainment industry these days. The Me Too movement. And how that's kind of changed the game, or has it for you? We've had several guests on who have shown kind of both sides of that movement, and it has affected them or it hasn't affected them, and their thought process. Has it changed the way you audition or when you get a role, how you approach how you're going to be on set? Or, I mean, is it something that you've just haven't had to deal with yet, or how have you gone with that movement?
I haven't had direct experience with it on a set.
That's good to hear. Good.
I really have not had to deal with it in that sense. I mean, I think it is something that exists in every industry.
Agreed.
It's just the entertainment industry is on a spotlight.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
It's the one that it gets broadcast everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm an older woman, and I've definitely seen a trend of the way things have changed as far as the way that people can speak to each other in a work environment, regardless of whether it's on a film shoot or if it's at an office cubicle, you know?
Right.
So overall, I think as a culture, this generation is definitely more cognizant and more aware of how to speak to people and not be offensive. As far as I just haven't had any direct, anything directly affect me per se with the Me Too movement, but I do know it's affected a lot of people. One thing I think about it is there are two sides to every single story.
Yes,
and
exactly.
And I think oftentimes we can get all caught up when we hear only one version of the truth.
Right.
And I think that that's whenever social media can be a freaking nightmare too. Mm-hmm. We all have opinions and we all have things that are important to us because we all have different life experiences, you know?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
But it's one of those topics that I've had people in my life who have had to deal with both sides of that story, and I know firsthand that there's two sides to each and every story. I mean, there are some freaking like crazy people who are taking advantage, and that's not what I'm speaking about. I'm talking about all the middle ground people who sometimes get put in the spotlight that maybe is not really where they should be, you know?
Yeah, agreed. We same way, and you're not alone in that line of thinking. Again, we've had several people on the show already that the same way. You know, it's not condoning any way, like you said, the crazy people that are using it and taking advantage of people and doing horrible things. Mm-hmm. But there are two sides, and you're right. Sometimes we feel like, you know, people are being called out and not necessarily in a good way for something that they may or may not have done. And you're right. Social media, it seems like if you get there first, then everybody's going to believe that. And I mean, it's a tough situation.
Yeah, a lot of people just jump straight to conclusions, and it's just not a good situation sometimes.
Yeah.
And I value that everybody has their own emotional reaction to a lot of these statements that are said, of course. But I mean, you guys coming from a journalism background, let me ask you. Sure. Does it bother you sometimes how there are stories out there that do not have valid sources?
Yes.
Yes.
In so many areas.
Yeah. we can't tell you. Before we left, some of the sources were coming from Facebook. So
yeah. I mean, it's because it's gotten that bad. Exactly, Logan. Exactly. I mean, our news director would pull stories from Facebook.
Yeah.
Like, is this really where we're going with?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here?
What we're reporting on? Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting to say the very least, and in so many areas it bothers me where there's no reliable source and they're just running with it, and it's disturbing. It really is disturbing. It's a great point, absolutely great point.
It bugs me so much. I mean, I point it out to my kids all the time. I have kids who I love it because they're all very involved in everything that is going on in current affairs, and we have like family discussions and arguments.
That's awesome.
Hell yeah.
Things.
Awesome.
And I just try to point it out to them all the time. Well, where did you get that from?
Right.
Who wrote that?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, we're the same way. I have the same type of conversations with my daughter. She's actually involved with the company, and we're really tight every day together and everything. But we have the same type discussions. And my big thing with her is like I value your opinion from wherever you're coming from, but make sure that it's an educated opinion and that you can back up what you're saying.
Exactly.
Like even if I completely disagree with what you're saying, if you can back it up with a valid point or a valid source, then I'm going to give you credit for that.
Exactly.
Even if I disagree with it. It's these people who you get and they say, you ask them, but why do you think that? Why do you think that that's right? Because why? Or because such and such said so, and that drives me nuts. It's like, no. But what do you think? Where did you get this opinion from? Like, it's crazy.
You need to stay informed, that's for sure.
Well, this drastically changed course, didn't it? But that's okay. That's fun. We said it's our therapy session.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And by the way, I'm just going to go ahead and say that whole you're an older woman. No, because you're younger than me. And if you're an older woman, that would imply somehow I'm old. And that's just ridiculous. We're not old at all. We're young and we're going to stay that way, Audrey. Okay?
Yes, we are. For some reason, I do feel like I'm still in my 20s.
Me too. And I think this conversation is completely evident of that. We're having a good time. We're not,
Exactly.
Every day I say the same thing. I'm still only I'm celebrating my 20th something birthday for the 20th something time. I'm like, that's all right.
Whatever you tell yourself.
Yes, whatever I tell myself.
Until I go visit my daughter at college and I start walking around, I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, same thing. Same thing with my kid. She just did that. We did the whole orientation. She's in her first year of college, and that was a eye-opening experience when you go back to the campus, no doubt.
For sure.
Oh my goodness. So what you got coming up? I mean, a lot of work going on. You bounce back and forth between film and television. So what's on the horizon for you?
Well, what's next is a film called Walk, Ride, Rodeo, and it's going to be on Netflix.
Awesome.
I'm guessing it's going to be out in the spring. I'm not real positive when that will be yet, but that's kind of next on the agenda, and then a few other things that are in the works. So both television and film related. So also potentially a web series.
Oh,
soon.
fantastic.
So
There you go.
We'll see kind of how everything pans out. You know how it is.
Oh yeah, always. And well, listen, anytime you want to come back and talk, and obviously when things come out or whatever, I mean, open invite to come back on the show whenever you'd like.
Thank you.
And just talk. I mean, it's been a more than enjoyable conversation. Just great. So definitely we want to have you back on when things come out and we could talk about it. So more than welcome. And then we always like to kind of follow up with and kind of finish with advice that you would give, because we have a lot of listeners who listen to the podcast and they're trying to get into the industry and they kind of look for advice from our guests and what's worked and what hasn't. So what advice would you have for anybody trying to get in to do or not do, trying to break into this industry?
Yeah, that's a great question. And thank you. I would love to come back and talk with y'all.
Awesome.
Probably the most important thing I can stress to anyone is not to try and be somebody else. Just be yourself. and just have faith that there is something out there that is for you and uniquely you and will be perfect. I think along the years, me starting a little later into acting, I didn't struggle with it as much as I would see some younger actors and actresses trying to fit themselves and mold themselves into one role or another that they thought that they should be. And watching a lot of performers grow, as I've watched many of them grow over the past 10 years who I've studied with and worked with in different ways. And they were good, but when you find yourself and you be yourself and you come alive as you within a character, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's undeniable. And I think, especially in our youth sometimes with different insecurities and maybe not having full knowledge of things, we tend to second guess ourselves. And I guess I just say, trust yourself and know that you are enough, and don't ever be afraid to show who you are.
Absolutely. That fantastic advice. Fantastic advice. I think some of my favorite performers and are the ones who bring themselves into the role, like you said, and just be you. I mean, I think that's the best way to go, and that's outstanding advice. Well said.
Well, thanks. Well, it's great chatting with you guys. Thank you for having me.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
it was
absolutely.
awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're excited. Great talk. Great talk.
All right, go watch Big Kill.
All right, take care now.
Thanks.
Uh-huh. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, awesome interview.
Yeah, she was like really cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
seriously. I like how she was talking about she went to school for this, but realizing it wasn't her passion, so she figured it out. That's what it's all about. Just don't give up. You have to figure out your life, because at the end of the day, it's the only one you get.
I mean, I don't even know how to follow that up. That's perfectly said.
Yeah.
I mean, but seriously though, how many people do you see stay trapped in a life or a job
And just stay
or
that
in a
way.
relationship
Yeah.
that they won't get out of, even
Yeah.
though they know it's not what they want.
Exactly.
And so to, like you said, hear somebody say, this wasn't for me. It's not what I
Yeah.
want to do, and just go for
Exactly.
it.
And especially after taking a hiatus from just entertainment in general for 13 years and then coming back.
Yeah.
It's
And
awesome.
being brave enough, it's not always easy.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can't stress this enough. You are never too old. It is never too late
Exactly.
to start living the life you want to live.
Exactly.
And even when you take 13 years off, you can jump right in and say, boom,
Exactly.
here it is.
Easy enough.
And one of our former guests, Riley B. Smith, what a great time he was. He said it best. If you can't chase your passion or live your passion, then what's the point? What can you do? And I mean, that about sums it up, right?
Hell yeah,
So,
definitely.
all right, man. Well, great guest.
Yeah,
Great
definitely.
guest.
Thanks for coming on. All right, now it's time for the top 5. This week it is top 5 sports movies. Okay, ladies, I know it might have been a little hard for you, at least for little Cam. Was it hard for you, Tavia?
No.
I'm
Just because I have 2 X chromosomes does not mean I don't
sorry.
like sports
There's
movies.
plenty of
I'm
great
sorry.
sports movies
I'm
for both
sorry.
male,
I was
female,
just going off
and
of
other.
her, what she was saying. But anyway, ladies first.
Well, one of the ones I mentioned first is A League of Their Own,
You
which
gonna
is
punch
a
me
women's sports movie. Thank you.
You gonna punch me
And
in the
it's
face?
damn funny. It's damn good and damn funny.
It is good.
This Used to Be My Playground was a hell of a song by Madonna.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't really like Madonna that much.
damn.
Anyway, I guess whenever with Madonna on our show. Anyway, so then The Sandlot, which is another
Oh, I
baseball
forgot
movie.
about The
Oh,
Sandlot.
Sandlot.
I was such a iconic movie for me growing up in the 90s. As was Space Jams.
Ooh,
There's another
Space
one on
Jam,
there.
Yeah.
And Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore.
Just go home.
But my favorite one, I don't really have the other ones in order, but this one is number 1, is Remember the Titans.
Yes.
I think
That
that's going to be on
one-
everybody's
Yes.
list. I
That
mean,
one was such a
an
great
epic.
movie.
Little
So
Hayden
good.
Panettiere,
Yeah.
she was so young in that
I
movie.
know.
And feisty.
And feisty.
And
She was, man, she
feisty.
was feisty, yeah.
Like, all right.
All right, Lil Cam.
All right, little Cam.
Woohoo!
What's your
as-
2?
I have 3.
Oh, okay.
Minus 2
I'm gonna punch you in the face.
is 250,000.
It's the new anthem of the show.
That's
All
right.
right.
Welcome inside the Crazy Ant Farm.
Yeah,
where
I
we will
only
punch you in the
have
face.
3, and they're not in order, so they're just
Okay.
they're just there. I had Happy Gilmore too, and a League of Their Own.
The price is wrong, bitch. I mean, there's so many classic lines in that movie. All right, good.
You had enough?
Let me finish.
All right.
And then I had The Blind Spot.
Oh, yeah.
Blind Spot's a good one.
Blind spot. What's a blind spot? What's the blind spot?
Never seen
The
it.
Sandra Bullock movie.
That's the blind,
Blind
side.
side. I knew where he was going.
Yeah.
Oh, I was like,
That's
checking
the
right
blind
there.
side, not the
Look.
blind spot. That's her mic. What are you doing?
Now it's just assaulting people.
Apparently.
You see, I had you. I was trying to just go and say, yeah, that's a good one. No.
The Blind Spot coming out in 2021.
Yeah, like, come on.
These
now.
last minute, and I'm really tired.
That's
They
the
all
sequel
knew
to
what I meant.
Concussion.
Logan's just a hater.
Oh my
That's right.
god.
Do your 10.
All right, I will.
10.
Whatever. Moneyball / Cool Runnings. I love Jonah Hill and Brad Pitt in Moneyball, and Cool Runnings is
That's
just so
just Cool
freaking
Running.
good. Yeah, like Remember the Titans and A League of Their Own together. Those are freaking phenomenal. Loving basketball and Coach Carter because I'm from Indiana and love basketball. Rudy, Indiana, Notre Dame. Whoop whoop. And the Hoosiers.
Yeah, Hoosiers.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So good, so good. Soundman?
I have Mighty Ducks.
Ooh, nice.
I almost put that on mine.
Emilio.
Yeah, the flying.
The Flying V.
The Flying V.
Come on.
I had Cool Runnings on here, but I'll change it out for Major League.
No,
Major
there you go.
League, yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Wilding.
White Men Can't Jump.
White Man
That's a
Can't
good
Jump.
one, too.
I've heard there's a sequel.
Really?
I've heard
It's
that
the
too,
rumor.
but yeah,
That's the rumor.
because what's his name's out of prison from Texas.
Yeah, what's his name's out of prison?
Snipes needs the money, man. He can still jump.
Yeah.
$1 Million Baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, ooh, that's a good one.
Only can watch that once because it's so
Yeah.
Space Jam.
Same
Space
Space
Jam.
Jam. Yeah.
Space Jam, Happy
Space
Gilmore.
Jam, Space
Yeah.
Jam.
All right.
All right.
All right. I'm gonna try to hit all the sports here.
Ready,
well,
go.
I mean a lot of them. Hockey. I'm gonna go with Miracle.
There you
Of
go.
course.
Got to have Miracle on there. 1980 beat the Russians.
Yes.
Beat the Ruskies.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I'm gonna go basketball. I agree. Hoosiers. I mean,
Yeah.
just a brilliant freaking basketball movie from start to finish. I'm gonna do boxing, and I'm gonna go Raging Bull.
Raging
Nero.
Bull.
Oh, man, I mean,
None of the Rockies?
Yeah, I mean, all of the Rockies and Creed. All
But they
well,
wouldn't
not
exist without
all
Raging
of the
Bull.
Rockies,
You know
but
what I
that's
mean?
it's true. Rocky wouldn't. Yeah, agreed. So Raging Bull, and then I'm gonna do baseball. I'm going with a little curve, if you will. Trouble with the Curve. Clint Eastwood, and Amy Adams, and Justin
yeah,
Timberlake.
shit.
I loved that movie.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really
I didn't
great
even think
movie.
about that
You know,
one.
a behind the scenes of Moneyball, kind of the same. You know,
Yeah.
like I just really like that. And then football, obviously, Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
Or an honorable mention, Any Given Sunday.
Any given
Oh
Sunday.
my gosh,
Sunday,
such
yeah.
a good
Or
movie,
Friday Night
man.
Lights, like
Or
Friday
Friday
Night
Night Lights, or Last Boy Scout even was pretty fun.
so
I mean,
many, like-
so there. But anyway, that's my top 5.
Yeah. All right. And the word of the day. Got one?
Baby legs.
Baby legs.
Or baby sticks.
baby sticks.
Oh,
Like
What
blind
are we talking
spot.
about?
yeah, like Blind Spot. You get a lot of baby licks if
Ew.
you don't get cover the blind spot.
A baby on a film set is a small set of tripod legs.
Really?
They come in all shapes, sizes, all different forms. It's just talking about the baby legs for low angle shots.
Yeah.
Nice.
See?
So you can mount
learning-
low and you go look up on something.
Yeah.
Looking up.
Learning something
Little
new
baby leg.
every day.
Little baby
Hell
legs.
yeah. That's awesome.
So like Rosemary.
Like Rosemary?
Like I thought.
I was
the baby-
thinking of Rick and Morty.
Yeah, Rick and Morty.
There you
Detective
go.
Baby Legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
That's fucking
Makes me
hilarious.
think of Deadpool, the second one.
Oh, yes. That was
He's Winnie
hilarious.
Pooh in it, or whatever.
Yeah.
No, Donald
Yeah.
Duck. What was it he was saying?
Shirt cocking
Yeah,
it. He's
shirt
shirt
cocking
cocking
it,
it the whole way.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right, now it's time for the box office predictions. I just want to recap on last week because I basically got everything right.
Yeah, no, he did nail it last week.
Yeah, number 1 was Fantastic Beast. I predicted that. I predicted around 60 to 70 million. It got
These are so hard
it
predictions,
got
though. Oh, man. So
62.2
complicated and
million. The Grinch, I predicted it was going to be number 2. It was number 2 with I predicted around 25 to 30 million. It out predicted me with 38 million. So go see The Grinch.
hard. Benedict Cumberbatch brings in the
yeah.
numbers.
Yeah.
Strange.
Bohemian Rhapsody was number 3, like I said.
See that.
Yeah, me too.
I predicted 15 to 20 million. It got 16 million. Instant Family was number 4. I predicted around 15 to 20 million. It was 14.5. Damn bitches.
Wow.
And Widows was number 5. I predicted 10 to 15 million, and it got 12.4 million. So that's just... Thank you. I'm awesome. I'm fantastic. That's why they call me J-Lo Fantastic. All right, let's talk about the new movies that are coming out this week on this Thanksgiving.
You think you'll get away with that? It's all kind of do that.
Wow.
Ralph Breaks the Internet. This one, I think, is going to take the top spot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's Battle in Creed 2 this week.
It is.
Yeah, it's going to be close, man.
The thing is, though, it's like, honestly, Ralph Breaks the Internet stars everybody.
Seriously.
Like, I mean, I don't know if you guys have been like paying attention, but like literally
Yeah.
everybody in Hollywood is in this film,
Yeah,
like as some
seriously.
character. It's like crazy.
Yeah, and apparently it's going to be like super pop culture, like going back into like the 90s and the 80s. It's
Well, and it's got all the Disney princesses.
Yeah.
It's got all the
Yeah.
Marvel
Exactly.
characters. It's got it's gonna be
it's
gonna be
gonna
crazy.
be freaking epic.
It sounds awesome.
Pretty much take ABC's lineup and they have to grab all the actors. 'Cause I
Right.
see Modern Family actors. I see Meet the Goldbergs actors.
You should.
Yeah,
Just here, get in there.
Has Alan Tudyk to make sure he's in it.
Yeah.
it's got Ming-Na Wen and Gal Gadot, and
Damn.
like
Yeah.
just like I mean,
I didn't even know
Lynch.
Gal was in there.
Yeah.
But movies that are still out. A Star Is Born. Everybody should go see that. Oscar buzz like crazy. The Grinch, Bohemian Rhapsody, Overlord, which Tavia just saw.
That shit was crazy.
It was crazy.
Crazy.
That's intense. Like
yeah.
from the very first like scene.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
Oh man, Billy Ray was on our show, so make sure to go listen to that interview. He is
Yeah.
the writer,
That's
correct?
right, yep.
Yeah. So yeah, make sure to go listen to Billy Ray's interview. He talks about Overlord in there. So
Oh, I
it's pretty
forgot it was
epic.
done by J.J. Abrams. So yeah.
Yeah,
go
it's a
see
bad
it,
robot
yeah.
production.
Mm-hmm. And
which
then
could soon be Disney.
you know.
Apple or Netflix.
The Nutcracker, Four Realms, the Fantastic Beasts sequel is still out.
With Pale Johnny.
With Pale Johnny. Instant
got what you
Family.
need.
He's got what you
He got what you need.
Pale
And
Johnny. He got
Widows.
what you need.
Like I said, I think Ralph Breaks the Internet is number 1 with around 40, 45, 48 million. I think Creed 2 will come in number 2 with around 30 to 40 million. I think it's going to be close though. I think it's going to be
Yeah.
close. People have been waiting on that one. The Grinch number 3 with around 20 to 30 million. Number 4, Fantastic Beasts sequel with around 20 to 25 million. And number 5, Instant Family, the Mark Wahlberg flick with around 10 to 15 million.
Which is underperforming.
Yeah, which
It apparently is underperforming.
Yeah.
And didn't quite find the magic of
Yeah.
Daddy's Home.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
Well, I think that's supposed to be more feel good. I don't know if it's supposed to be big numbers.
Really pulling for Creed.
Yeah.
To take the top spot.
Yeah.
I am nothing against Ralph Wrecks the Internet. I think that's going to be a great film. It'll be
Yeah.
entertaining and fun. But man, Creed 2 looks just like amazing.
It
Michael B.
does.
Jordan is just like, let him do whatever he wants.
Seriously.
Like, I mean, the first film was fantastic.
Yeah.
Ryan Coogler just did a brilliant job. And this one just, and if you
Yeah,
grew
but
up
which
on
one
the-
would you bring little ones to? And that's where the money comes in right
I don't
there.
know. But I mean,
Especially for a family weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is a lot of family
No.
time this weekend.
there's always good messages in the Rocky films, though. I mean, they
It's
are a
true.
little violent,
It's
but
true.
like Creed has a good message of overcoming and
Yeah.
like being able to.
And in this one, he
know-
has like a family, right? Him and the girl got a baby.
they got
and
a baby
everything.
coming and everything, and it's
Yeah.
much. Anybody who's been a fan of the Rocky movies or grew up on the Rocky movies, I mean, it knows that this is a revisit of Drago.
Yeah.
Drago's son has come back to
Right.
take on, and they go into the whole thing. I mean, I'm just a little interesting thing I read about this too is that apparently Stallone basically drafted outlines and wrote the fight sequences and scenes.
Yeah.
But then, Michael B. Jordan said, but the new director, because it's not Coogler this time, said that he was responsible for doing all of the
Yeah.
rest of it. But that Stallone did very actively take a part in
Yeah.
the certain fight sequences or scenes where it was about that.
That's epic.
Which, I mean, a lot of people don't realize he wrote Rocky.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, so he's not like a dumb guy by
Exactly.
any means.
Adrian.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway,
I must break you.
I must break you.
I know, dude, and
That dude looks huge.
They show it again too. The new Drago is
He's
just like
huge,
towering over
yeah.
Michael B. But
it's crazy.
I
Like,
mean-
no way they'd be in the same weight class in real life. Like
No,
way.
no way.
No.
Just saying.
I mean, but much like Rocky 4, which is the Drago one.
Yeah.
I mean, these two motherfuckers are like fucking
No,
ripped.
both of them.
I mean,
are,
Michael B looked like he's a brick wall.
Yeah,
like you could just
seriously.
run a car into him, he'd be like, and
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
I
like,
mean, he's just.
if you go back and like watch Parenthood, you're like, that's the same guy.
I know,
Like,
I know.
Or
the
even
little like
The
skinny
Wire,
kid
yeah.
with the dreads on Wire.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like what? Because I mean, he is freaking.
Yeah, seriously.
Look
Diet
out,
and
Chadwick.
exercise,
Yeah,
man.
Killmonger
Shit's
coming
crazy.
back for Black Panther, and
Seriously,
this time
he's
it
gonna
ain't
be
ending
like,
good. He's like, God,
Damn.
I don't even need the serum, bitch.
Oh man, but yeah, I can't wait to see honestly both of the new movies that are coming
Yeah,
out.
me too.
So we shall see.
And Bohemian.
See. And Bohemian.
Bohemian.
Still haven't seen that one. Goodness
Yeah.
gracious.
Oh, and the new commercial for Elton John, the Elton John
Yeah.
scene where he runs out onto the
Yeah.
stage and he's all, I mean, so much good
So
stuff coming out.
Epic. Let's switch it over to music. Billboard chart zappers. Hot 100 second week is Thank You Next, Ariana Grande's song. It's okay. And top 200 album is Kane Brown's Experiment. This is apparently a country artist, but I don't know. I've never listened to any of his music, so we shall see. I might do a review on that.
I think a lot of why Ariana's song is so popular is because everyone knows what she's going through. You know what I mean? I think if there weren't the same context around it, and I'm not saying that it wouldn't still do well because she has a huge fan base and a
Right.
lot of people love her music, but I think that's a big part of why people are paying so much attention to it right now.
Yeah, agreed. Especially with all the like heartbreak she's going through with Pete
Right.
and
Definitely.
Mac, and like there's just a
Right.
lot going on.
I mean, she's like Michael B too. Like back in the day, like on what was it, Victorious or whatever,
Yes,
Little Cat.
Cat.
Did you ever see like that coming?
I had the
Like,
hugest crush on her.
I mean, but that little
Redhead.
that little high pitched, little whiny voice, and then the first time you hear the song and they go, "Oh yeah, that's Cat from Victorious."
Right.
Get the fuck out! No,
like,
it's
no
not.
way.
Like it's just crazy, man.
Yeah. Oh man. But anyway, guys, that is our show this week. Thank you for listening along. Happy Thanksgiving, like we said. Make sure to follow us everywhere. Google. What am I doing? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Crazy Ant Film Company, Twitter, Crazy Ant Films, Instagram, Crazy _Ant_ Films. And on YouTube, Crazy Ant Films, you can like and subscribe to this podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, and Spotify. Give us some stars, comment, give us some feedback, because we like feedback.
Rate.
Rate. Do anything.
As long as it's positive. If it's
Exactly.
negative, we'll punch you in the face.
Punch you in the face.
Will be next week's #1 hit on Billboard.
Yeah, right.
Punch you in the face by
I'm gonna
Latte.
punch you in the face.
That one's not going on vanilla pudding.
No.
Damn. Just missed the
right.
mixtape. Just missed it.
Vanilla pudding's her pop candy one.
Right.
This one's her gangster rap. Punch you in the face.
Oh my gosh.
She's versatile, man.
It
She's
is.
versatile.
And we have a website, crazyantfilms.com.
Currently under new design.
Yes,
Yeah,
we are
we're changing that up.
constructing it and making it look all sorts of better.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, go check out all that shit. Like and subscribe. Follow us. Stay crazy, my friends. And one more thing.
Oprah!